And here we are, live. And here we are live. Hey everyone. Nice to have you here. Hope everything's alright. And looking if everything's here. Yep, everything looks cool. Full screen, that's okay. We'll move this line here. The chat here. And CPU load 60%, not bad. I don't know why it was 90% a couple of weeks ago. I never understood that one. Now it's at 60%, which is perfect for this 5-year-old machine. Hey everybody, welcome aboard. This is the live show. We are here in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, and of course, we are here to entertain. We are here to talk about radio. I'll talk a little bit. Well, we'll tune around and talk about the little black box that's right here, which is a SDR Play RSP1A, thanks to a gift from Simon Templar that's in the chat room regularly. And I have another gift waiting at the post office tomorrow, because I wasn't here yesterday when the post office came through. Somebody else sent me a gift also. So this is going to be interesting to see. Now, it's not going to be at the post office before tomorrow, and tomorrow I'm not home, so I won't be able to get it before Monday. But I can't wait to see what's in that surprise box. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So, nice, Thanksgiving gifts, I guess. Really nice. I've been enjoying. So here you see the layout is different from usual HD SDR because I'm using SDR Uno on my desktop. And it's controlling, of course, the RSP1A. That is just really the setup that I have here is temporary because what's happening is that I had to find a way to have it working for the show. I want to have the RSP1A instead of my Afedri for today. So I just it's temporary setup here. It's really not the best setup you can get, but we're going to have fun tuning around with this and checking out the bands. And I'll be talking about the RSP1A. So this is a show about radio, shortwave radio mostly, but long wave, medium wave, anything below 30 megahertz is welcome here. And for those that are scanner buffs or buffs of VHF, UHF, or anything above 30 megahertz, once a month we have a VHF, UHF show. So that's also available. My name is Gilles. I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, northeast portion of North America. And of course, hope everybody is going to enjoy the show. Happy Thanksgiving and Boxing Day to all of our U.S. viewers, of course. Hope everybody enjoyed the holiday. Here in Canada, it's not a holiday. Our Thanksgiving was last month. It's in the month of October here in Canada. So hope everybody got too much turkey, maybe. Nice to have everybody on board. Okay, there's a nice chat room for those that want to join in also. Nice place where a lot of people can join and have fun with us, answer questions. A lot of great guys and girls out there that are just waiting to answer questions from anybody. And, of course, correct me when I'm wrong. And maybe learn when I say something that you didn't know. Of course, this is like a big party, and we're all radio geeks, and we're all learning together. It's not because you've been listening for 35 years. It's not because you're an amateur radio operator for the last 50 years of your life that you necessarily know everything. We all have parts of the radio hobby that we love and we know really well. Parts of the radio hobby that are more obscure. We each have our, specialty, I would say. I'm kind of the general side. I try to learn a little bit about everything. When you try to learn the overall package, sometimes you miss out on little details that are important. But we're here to have fun anyways. So get your shortwave radios out, portable radios. You don't have one? Go to sdr.hu and choose one of the online receivers. And tune around with us when we tune the bands, and you want to see if you can hear us, a station or something, a signal of some sort. We're here for that, and let me just make sure that I have my little tablet computer. Where did I put my tablet? It's right here, because I want to, of course, take the schedules on my little tablet here. We'll take the shortwave schedules from EIBI Space, and we're gonna have fun tuning the bands for sure. Okay, nice to have Mark Cope. Happy Thanksgiving. Nice to have you here. Let me just, there we go. Bring up the browser. Okay. So Mark Cope, happy Thanksgiving. Nice to have you on board. Says, lots of interesting things on the band lately. Of course. And it's been an interesting week. I've been tuning around a lot because, of course, when you got a new radio, what do? You want to play with the radio. So I've been tuning around a lot in the past few days and having a lot of fun tuning around the bands. Of course, let me just bring up the Preom website to, who knows, maybe tune around some of the number stations that could be broadcasting. Who knows? So let's just put ourselves at 2000 UTC. Here we go. So the next one is at 2035 4840 USB P03B that I believe is from Poland. So I'll try it out. It's a little early here for that, but I'll try it out. So anyways, I've got the schedules. I've got everything ready to tune around, and hope we're going to have fun. Matambali from Colorado. Nice to have you here. Bobby Burgess, W85107 SWL from Louisiana, USA. Welcome. Jerry DX, nice to have you on board. Tio, how are you, my friend? Oh, it's nice to have you here. Neil Fooms, hey there, Neil. M0CJM in England. Really nice to have you here. Says, just reinstalled Radio PC, Windows 10 this afternoon, and installing all the apps. Did my Ham Radio Deluxe updates to set all so all set up. Hope everything is well. Cool. I am thinking of dedicating one of my computers to, well, actually, the desktop computer I use here is pretty much dedicated to just doing software-defined receiver stuff. So, right now I've got HD SDR. I ordered some SMA connectors to be able to have the ephedry, the RSDR play, and my icon all plugged in together in good working order when I want to tune in and test out all the radios. I think it's a lot of fun. And also I can compare. I was thinking of doing some, comparing, of course, the performance of all the radios together. So there's going to be videos coming up in the next few weeks for sure. Matt, MDK2, nice to have you here, my friend from... Okay, here's go. So here there, Matt from Colorado. Matt Ambali says Radio Vanna Cuba on 15140. Let's check it out. 15140. Not too bad. Radio Vanna Cuba in English. So 15140 S9 on the S meter. S8, S9. And cheers, by the way. So Radio Vanna Cuba 15140, and it's nice to have all of these signals here. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but I have less noise on the RSP1A than I have with the ephedry. If you guys remember, in the 19 meter band, 15 megahertz, I have these lines, vertical lines at every, like 100 kilohertz or so. Here they're not there, so it shows that the RSP1A doesn't work in the same way. It doesn't have as much noise, which really is interesting. Um, what else do we have? What else do we have? I'm Apper from Moscow, and he says hashtag buy nothing day. I never been you know, a friend of mine actually spends every Boxing Day waiting in line for hours to go and get stuff in the stores. I've never done that ever in my life. You know, uh, I was looking at an article this week that was saying that it's a consumer group that looked at the Boxing Day deals, and they came up with when they look at the prices, they came up with the fact that actually the majority of things that were on sale are actually in the same price at many times during the year without being Boxing Day. And that basically, if you just look at the prices for different items you want to have, you'll see that they're often on sale, and that 95% plus of everything that's advertised on sale is not really that big of a deal. And, anyways, people go crazy over it. I guess it's some kind of national sport or something. It's like, the Boxing Day event that, did I say Boxing Day today? It was a Black Friday deals. Boxing Day is after Christmas, and I guess it's the same thing. There's one big deal after Christmas, and it's all the Christmas decorations. If you want to have cool decorations for next year at a very low price, pretty much that's the only thing you got to deal with. So anyways, what else do we have? Max Edstrong, nice to have you on board. Says, greetings, radio lovers from around the world. Yeah. Apartment of... Let me just go back down. Okay. Apartment... I was here. Okay. Apartment of Defense, nice to have you on board from Pennsylvania. Pretty cool. Johnny the Xer, nice to have you here. And hopes everybody had a good Thanksgiving. Jason Pongratz, nice to have you here. Revelda65, nice to have you on board. Bobby Burgess, you must really love your SDR play. Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing. Really, really nice. So pretty cool. PLF Radio, nice to have you on board. My friend, bonjour, bienvenue de la France. Toujours un plaisir. Santé. Cheers, my friend. Bobby Burgess says, you said he got fired Drake one day. I must have got it yesterday morning as well on 11530. I forgot to answer your, you sent me a question yesterday. I totally forgot to answer it. It's easy to know if you're having Fire Drake. Fire Drake is intense percussion, very traditional Chinese music all the time. There's no talk, nothing. It's typically just very Chinese-like music, lots of percussions, and it's actually, for a jamming, it's actually entertaining to listen to it. So if you heard that, you got Fire Drake. The other way, the Chinese are, of course, interfering intentionally with other bronze transmissions. And by the way, you guys, if you haven't heard the report of the week, last week he was talking about the jamming and the different jamming coming out of China, Cuba, and apparently Saudi Arabia started jamming a little bit also. So I guess there are things that Saudi Arabia doesn't like us to talk about. And I wonder what. So basically, if you heard Chinese traditional music, just that, you heard Fire Drake. That is a typical Fire Drake. I don't hear them as much. Maybe it's propagation conditions. I don't hear them as much as I did hear them in the past, but they're still on. The other way is China Radio National 1. They take CNR1 feed and they just put it over another station that they don't want to, like Radio Free Asia, for example. I see a lot of people reporting Radio Free Asia, but in reality, a lot of the times, they're actually listening to CNR1, Chinese National Radio 1. They think it's Radio Free Asia because it's written in a list. But the problem is CNR1 is on every frequency, and it's very powerful. They kind of pump up that 500 kilowatt transmitters. So most of the time, and I mean, some of you did hear Radio Free Asia, that for sure, because depending on propagation, it's totally possible. But 9 out of 10 times when I saw somebody post, "Oh, I heard Radio Free Asia," it's not Radio Free Asia. It's Chinese National Radio 1. Arthur's Alleycrafters Kitchen and Audio Lab. Nice to have you here. Says, admittedly, I have little interest in SDR, but still looking forward to the show. Well, we're not going to talk about just SDRs. And you know what? I can't wait to get that box of goodies that somebody sent me, because I think there's going to be a lot of interesting non-SDR stuff maybe next week in the show with what I'll have. I don't know what's in there, but the post office is asking me $119.62 in taxes to pay to get that box, which is like, what? Okay. I don't know what's in there, but I was surprised when I saw the price tag. It's like, what? They're charging me $120? Wow. So what else do we have? Matt says, I'm waiting to see if SDR Play comes out with a 14-bit version of the RSP2 before I upgrade, or maybe I'll just get the RSP1A. Decisions. Oh yeah, with radio, always decisions. Hey, Jack M9IIF, welcome aboard. Nice to have you here. So what else do we have? Andrew Ross, nice to have you here. Good evening. The cat is outside right now. We've had an amazingly cold week. It's dropped to 0 Fahrenheit, minus 18. Not last night, the night before, and even last night was pretty cold, like minus 12, 13 Celsius. This is very cold for this time of year. We actually beat cold records. We've never had this cold of weather in November, ever. And it's crazy. This is the weather we have this week is what we usually have in January, not in November. It's very, very bizarre. And we already have almost a feet of snow on the ground. There's at least, there's at least 10 inches for sure on the ground. And it looks like winter. And I mean, we're really still a little early for that. Normal temperatures here in the daytime should be around +3, +4 Celsius, about, in the 40, maybe 40 Fahrenheit. And we've been, I looked just before the show, I look at my thermometer here, it says it's -5 outside. So, which is kind of cold. This is like 8 or 9 degrees below normal for the day. So really, really amazing cold weather we had this week. Dexpower74, nice to have you here from Germany. Says, nice new SDR software. I had the same with the SDR Play RSP Pro. Yeah, I love SDR Uno, by the way. I'm going to talk about it a little bit. I just love that software. It's become my new favorite after HD SDR. Gordon Threadwell, nice to have you here, VE6 GPT. And says, I've sold him on the SDR Play. I'm ordering one soon. You won't regret it, and I love it. The RSP1A is amazing. And you can have a full 10 megahertz spectrum if you want. Here I've left it at the minimum of 2 megahertz because this is an old machine. So when you take a lot of spectrum, it takes a lot more CPU to actually process everything. So on that machine, it was kind of I actually pumped it up to 5 megahertz just to see. And I noticed that something was weird in the display. So I guess maybe this is a Core 2 machine. It's difficult. It has difficulty handling too much data. So I reverted back to the 2 megahertz spectrum, which is probably not at 2 megahertz. Is it at 2? Yeah, it is at 2. It starts at 14,700 and ends at 16,700. So there's 2 megahertz visible there. I often zoom in to see a little more detail of the spectrum that I'm using, rather than going through the full spectrum here. Let's put it like this. It's kind of okay like this. It's just pretty much a 19 meter band right now. So, anyways, a lot of fun, a lot of fun, and I'm impressed by this RSP1A, and if I've tested it enough to know that the RSP1A is much better, mainly because of the low. I mean, in sensitivity, it's pretty much the same as the ephedra I'm using that you guys have seen in the past few months. But in noise level, this is where this SDR is really amazing. It is noiseless compared to my ephedra. I don't have all of these lines of noise and interference everywhere. They're totally gone from the RSP1A. All I have is the main noise that I get just from like an actual receiver, and you can see that RSP1A is actually very well filtered, very well done because the computer doesn't do noise in it at all. I'm impressed with that. There's surely some filtering. I am using a very good USB cable, although the USB cable that I use as a ferret to remove noise, it's built within the cable itself, so there's a big bump in the cable. I purchased the cable like that on eBay, and so that of course helps probably. But you know what? On if I use the same cable on the on if I would use the same cable on the Soft 66, for example, I would still see some noise from the computer getting into the SDR. So it's actually the SDR itself is actually very good at removing all that noise from the computer. Jason Pongratz, what do you think that machine gun sound was you posted yesterday? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that must be some kind of radar. It must be some kind of over the horizon radar. Some people were suggesting, oh, it looks like jamming. Jamming is usually typical of a specific frequency for, to block something. That moved in frequency at multiple places on the display. And you could see that often there were two signals at the same time, one on the lower 5 megahertz and one on the higher 5 megahertz. They were obviously together. They were obviously coming from the same thing. I would say that's some kind of radar. It's probably an over-the-horizon radar, and that's pretty much what I think that was. And so by sending these pulses, like we heard, they can actually map out and see, planes or missiles or whatever they're trying to find. But I would think that is probably some radar. I know that there's a lot of it coming from the Mediterranean island of forgot the name. Forgot the name. Malta. Sorry, Malta. So there's a lot of them coming from there apparently. So that could be coming from that island. MDRC, nice to have you here. Says 15 meter herd VKs. Nice. That's pretty much where I hear VKs, by the way, are Australian stations. That's usually where I hear the Japanese stations also. 15 meters around close to this time of day in the winter time, 15 meters, and is often open to Japan. I don't know if the MUF is good enough for that right now, but you've heard 15 meter signals from Australia and Southwest England, so that's pretty cool. So nice to have you here, Andy, from the UK. Danny, Shortwave, and Radio DX, nice to have you on board for freezing cold Yonkers, New York. Same here, freezing cold Montreal. Hidden Rabbit, nice to have you on board. Happy Thanksgiving. Simon Templar, nice to have you here, and thank you so much once again for the RSP1A that we're having today. It's really, really cool. Great gift. I mean, cheers, my friend. Thank you so much. As you can see, you made this guy very happy. Atom Bali says globaltuners.com is also a useful online radio resource. Absolutely. Paul Drake, nice to have you here from England. Pretty cool. Department of Defense says yesterday evening was great shortwave listening here in Northeast Pennsylvania. Still couldn't check radio progress or block out of the noise. Funny enough, though. You know what? I've had very, very bad reception of a lot of the frequencies from WRMI, unfortunately. 7780 is almost zero here. 5850 somewhat, but I'd say this week was the worst week for WRMI frequencies for me. Totally. And there's a lot of the relays that I couldn't hear or couldn't listen to because of that. But I did have a nice find, though. I heard 93.95, and it wasn't that great. But Deutsche Welle, DW, from Germany in English, English to Africa. And I think that's really from the World Radio Network. They started rebroadcasting the World Radio Network on 93.95 kilohertz on WRMI. So I've heard DW African service in English, which was a nice catch, and I actually posted a video. Gary Roberts, nice to have you on board from Los Angeles, California. And Matt says propagation has been variable here. Yesterday I had NHK Radio Japan 13720 on their 17 to 1900 UTC show. Nothing today at all. I've noticed one thing about propagation this week. It was a lot of ups and downs. One night I would hear something, one night I would not. What I often do, I often go to some of the frequencies. I hear some signals that are weaker, but just to see how strong they are. One example, the Royal Air Force Vomit on 5450 upper sideband is one that I use. So at night when I actually start listening, the first thing I will do is go on 5450 upper sideband and take note of how strong that station is. If it comes in really well, I know propagation in the lower frequencies to Europe and overall looks pretty good. When I barely, so one night, I think it was Tuesday night, it was barely audible. I was like, oh, something's wrong. And there are a lot of signals that I tend to hear that didn't seem to be there. So, it was a lot of ups and downs. I did notice, though, that around 0500, which is midnight local time here, a lot of European signals were really, really strong. That's how I heard last night. And not just last night. I heard it almost every night with the RSB1A. Radio Japan English, broadcasting from Austria. It's a European English service. And it's coming in really well into Montreal on 6155 from the Austria transmitter site. NHK Radio Japan English. Rock Ristorante, nice to have you on board. SM0SBT from Stockholm, Sweden. Very cool to see you here. Matambali's got wine. Isn't that the regular story of Bobby Burgess? I'm pretty sure there's always somebody that gets shot on a Black Friday somewhere in a Walmart or something because, I don't know, he didn't have that big screen TV he wanted or something. It's totally nuts. Sean Faye, nice to have you here. Pretty cool to see you on board. A little far in the chat room. I'm coming down as fast as I can, guys. Coming down as fast as I can. Took some PLF Radio, showing your videos. You seem like SDR Uno a lot. Is it this software is more user friendly than HDSDR, or is it for another reason? I would say what I like about SDR Uno. First of all, the visuals. I like the way the visuals are presented. That's one of the first things that I had, why I liked HDSDR. Its interface was nicer and better. The visual was nicer than SDR console or SDR Sharp that I've used. But also the different options and things that you can do. So I like the on HDSDR the nice S meter, the fact that you can import your EIBI space list of frequencies. I'm sure you can do that in SDR console and SDR Sharp, but I just don't like the visuals, and I don't feel like SDR Sharp. I don't feel like using it when I look at it. There's something I don't like. It is very powerful though because it's one of the only ones that has so many plugins that add new features to it. But for the interface itself, I don't like it. Um, what I like about SDR Uno also is that in your face with the different modules, because these are all modules. I mean, here is the receiver control module. So this is a separate window, as you see. I can move this around and rearrange everything. So there's different modules that you can actually activate or remove. So I've got the receiver control, I've got the main panel there, I've got the waterfall and the spectrum display, and you can add or remove other things. So for example, here in the background, there's one for the audio. This is the audio side of things. You could see the audio spectrum and filter here. So I like the fact that it's different modules that can move around. You can remove some, just have, you know, the basics if you want. I like the visuals are beautiful, and I like the fact that there's a lot of little buttons that have all the controls in your face. So for example, there's tons of controls right there in the receiver control, and there's the buttons to change band if you want to choose just by band or by megahertz. It's very, very nice, and it's very, very cool. I love SDR Uno. I'm now in love with the SDR Uno, honestly. So pretty cool. Matambali, I'm drinking coffee. It speeds up reality for me. What else do we have? Yeah, here it's rather peaceful too. Because here too in Canada today is Black Friday deals in the stores. Even though there's no Thanksgiving, we do have the Black Friday deals. There's a lot of people, but it's rather quiet here. Matt says, I got a great Black Friday store. Last year, my family went to Orlando on Thanksgiving week. Black Friday, we had to the airport, get stuck in Black Friday traffic, and get cut off by a charter bus. And of course, it probably continues. Okay, passing me on the left and making a right turn right in front of me. Okay. Hey, Mike, Anna, we'll probably have the rest of the story or something. Mike, Hannah, 261, Canyon Hopper, nice to have you on board from Utah. And nice to have you here. Okay. Oh, I got it now. I got Matt's story is okay. I thought there was more. Okay, what else do we have? JD Williamson, bonsoir, ça va bien? Oui, absolument. Ça va très, très bien. Thank you. Welcome aboard, my friend, JD Williamson. Nice to have you here. And Matt says, I love listening to Fire Drake. It's been really scarce lately, though. Most of the time, it's CNR1. I think they use more CNR1 jamming now than the Fire Drake itself. But honestly, when I would hear the Fire Drake, I would often stay on the frequency for two reasons. It's traditional, very traditional Chinese music, plus the fact that, you know, it's coming direct from China, so it's kind of cool. You're hearing China direct. Of course, it's not cool what they're doing with it, for sure. Paul Drake says, can I ask if Switch Cleaner would help with my band selector keys from not making contact on the Grundig Melody Boy 1000? It's totally possible. Some of these switch cleaning fluids, absolutely. Be careful which one you choose. Some are more harsh than others, and sometimes they tend to. I've seen some that melt plastic. You got to be careful to have a good one. But a cleaner will definitely help in scratchy pots and scratchy band selector keys, for sure. Madagascar in English on 11965, so that's radio, African Pathways Radio. Yep, pretty good signal. Look at that, 11965 African Pathways Radio from Madagascar, 11965.
King had a craved it our God. He realized an angel had come to save them. The king made another decree. These men would rather die than serve or worship any but their gods. Then the king put all of the three Jewish men in higher positions in Babylon. The three kept the faith of the one and only true.
So pretty nice to see a very good signal from African Pathways Radio 11965. Nice to have you here. Froze again. I don't know what's happening. It must be YouTube because I have a perfect. Let me just check it out here. I got perfect green everywhere. So if you guys have little freezings, maybe it's YouTube acting up. RadioNetR, nice to have you here. What's my opinion of the Eton 350 field radio? I've got it here. I've used it a lot. It's okay. It's okay if you don't pay a lot for it. I purchased mine on sale at Radio Shack, not Radio Shack, but at the Source store here in Montreal, and I paid $69 for it, which was okay. The original price were way too boosted. I've got the Eton 350 S350 DL. What is sad about it is it drifts a lot, and the frequency display is a frequency counter. It's not a real digital PLL display. So it's a little approximate, and over time and over use, it seems to have not the best construction quality of construction that a lot of radios have. Unless you get it for really cheap, it's not necessarily something to purchase at a big price. It's okay. The sound quality is good because, I mean, it has a big speaker and it's really, really nice. Maybe I can... Let me just check out if I can take mine and show you guys what we're talking about. Mine is here. So there we go. The batteries are dead in it, but it's a nice looking radio. I mean, this is a very, very nice looking receiver. So this one is the S53DL. So let me just put it here so you guys can see it. It's a very nice looking radio. But unfortunately, like I said, unless you pay a good, a cheap price for it, it lacks in many aspects. But it is a very cool and beautiful radio. You know what? You're giving me an idea that I haven't used it in a little while. I'm going to keep it here next to me. And what's going to happen is that I'm going to make videos this week with this receiver, talk about it a little more. So if you want to have a better idea of how it performs, I mean, it's quite sensitive, and the respect for sensitivity is pretty good. But I have to say it lacks in construction quality a little bit, and unfortunately. But it's a cool looking radio, and I mean, it's sensitive, but it does drift. So that means when you tune a station, you have to readjust every 5 or 10 minutes because it's going to drift away. That's probably one of the biggest problems. Johnny DXer has got an RSP2 and might pick up another soon. Cool. Revelda 65 says got 2 RSP1s that I use in the field. This is going to be great. I actually installed, and this is cool, I've installed on this tablet the RSP1A. This is an Android tablet running Android 7. And I installed the driver, and I installed, and of course with SDR Touch, I will be tuning outside, and I hope next summer, because this thing has a battery life that is amazing. I probably have on this tablet, like 10-hour battery or 8-hour battery. Of course, when I plug in the RSP1A, the battery's going to drain faster, but still I expect to have at least a few hours of tuning around. So I could see myself at Perry Island next summer, tuning around with the RSP1 and with lower noise and just checking out the different stations and posting the videos. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. What else do we have? PLF Radio. Shell, does their cheap RTL SDR dongle work with SDR Uno? I'm not sure. I've not. From what I've understood, SDR Uno doesn't work with everything. It's not like HDSDR and so on. MDK2, Matt says, I really love to say that as RSP2 Pro user that I'm jealous of the RSP1A's capability. It's all in the architecture, I'm sure. Yeah, it is totally amazing. Brian Penny, nice to have you here. He's got the RSP Duo and I absolutely love it. They are really amazing devices. Totally. Revolta65's got the RSP Duo in the shack. Jason Congress, does the SDR Play work with Apple? Did I see? I don't know if somebody could answer that. Did I see? Let me just check out here for a second. I think it does. I'm just going to tell you in 2 seconds. SDR Play downloads. So if I look at the SDR Play downloads, they are, yeah, for Mac. It works for Mac with Cubic SDR. It has Cubic SDR. So if you want to use it on a Mac, it will work on Cubic SDR. You got 2 things to install: a API HW driver, and then you install Cubic SDR 0.2.5 is the latest version. That will work on a Mac with every RSP SDR Play devices. So yes, it does work on Apple, Jason. Where are you folks buying their SDR Play units direct from the manufacturer? The one that I have here on the box, it says it comes from Ham Radio Outlet. Ham Radio Outlet in the United States. That's what's written on the box. It's direct from the Ham Radio Outlet. Yeah, Mountain Valley, exactly. Ham Radio Outlet. That's where the RSP1A comes from. And I had to pay the taxes on it. When the guy came, I'm not used to that. I don't know if it's the strike or they're just being more, the government needs more money. But I'm not used to paying all of these taxes on everything that I receive. So on the RSP1A, I paid $40 taxes for taxes and the handling and whatever. So that one was 40, and the other one, this one, the other package I'm getting is surprised me at $120. That's gonna be like, what? I've never had so high of an amount to pay for a package. And think about it. If I would have received that from UPS instead of the U.S. Postal Service, it would have cost me like 10 times more. These guys are nuts. So, but it's clearly stated that it's the GST. It's the Canadian sales tax for the province and Canada. So, but it's I don't mind at all. It's just cool. It's really, really cool. And $40 for such a great SDR, it's nothing there, man. It's a great gift. Yeah, that's probably why it comes from there. Ham Radio Outlets is the official USA retailer for the SDR Play. Cyberflyer1, nice to have you here. Good evening. Always cool. I am well, and I am keeping warm. Absolutely. Calvin, nice to have you here. Pretty cool to have you on board. What else do we have? Calvin says, I have the RSP2 Pro Gel. SDR Uno is great, but only there for Windows. Tried the other software like GQRX, but it's not all that great at all. Yeah, that's the sad part of SDR Uno. It's only a Windows package. You are totally right on that. But if you use Linux, has anybody tried to run SDR Uno in Wine on Linux? maybe that could be a way to use it. I don't know if it's possible. I have never tried that, so I don't know. I have no idea. I know that a lot of Windows software will work in Wine within Linux, but I don't know if SDR Uno would be one of them, especially since it requires a driver and everything. I have no idea if it would actually work. Capital City and Professionals, nice to have you on board. My day is going well, and here it's not Thanksgiving in Canada, so it's kind of a normal week. Actually, everybody's going nuts because this is the week of the pay YouTube and AdSense pay week. AdSense, when you have YouTube channels for monetization and stuff, always pays on the they always start the process of monetizing, giving you your money on the 21st of November or of every month. Though. So on the 21st, I got their usual message of automatic payment pending with the amount that they're going to give me this month. And I'm used to, like everybody else, that on the 21st, usually during the day, at some point it says, okay, it's paid. So you'll get it in a few days in your bank account. So the 21st went by, and it's like, well, it's still pending. And then yesterday I wake up and it's like, well, it's still pending. I've never seen that. And today it's still pending. And it's funny because I went to, because, you get a little worried when things are pending and there's nothing happening. So I'm like, okay, I'm just going to go and check out, And I went to the Google forum where everybody talks about it. And it's like there are hundreds of panicking people all saying, hey, it's pending for 3 days and nothing is happening. And which, I just understood, well, okay, pretty much everybody hasn't got their money. It's just that because of Thanksgiving, probably they can't process the money. But it's just so funny because, like, okay, everybody's panicking. It's normal. And, Google does say that the payment for AdSense is between the 21st and the 26th of each month. So we're within that time frame. I mean, they could give it just Monday on the 26th. It probably all has to do with the holiday. So what else do we have? Max Edstrongson says, seems like we get about 1 hour per beer out of Joe. That's pretty good mileage, beer mileage. That's because I do here, I talk a lot and everything because in a bar, I drink beer like I drink water. It's nuts. I remember going to a bar about 2 years ago, and the waitress that knows me very well says, Joe, I just want to say one thing. You've been here for an hour and a half, and you already got your 4th pint. Maybe you should just slow down a little bit. And, it was one of those summer days when it's really hot. So I was like drinking that thing like water. My body needed water. And I said, you know what? You're totally right. 4 pints in 90 minutes is a lot of beer. And I'm going to relax it a little bit. What else do we have? Bobby Burgess, maybe you should try capture TV stations and SDR plane. They're really good for that. I'm going to do a lot of things. I mean, there's the ADSB stuff for the airplane information, and there's a lot of things I'm going to do with this SDR plane. I can tell you that. A lot of things. It's very, very nice for that. Danny Shortwave Radio DX says SDR Play RSP1 and 1A is great SDR, especially for the price. I upgraded to a metal case, and it does lower the RF interference low. Oh, really? So you have the a metal case instead. It does lower. So that's interesting. I wonder if we add. I wonder if we add some kind of some aluminum foil over it or something to see if it changes anything. I wonder. Matt says, I'm surprised that 7780 isn't good for you, Shell. The same transmitter, very copyable here when it was still broadcasting 11580. 7780 has always been rather bad here. It's one of those frequencies I don't know if it's on right now. 7780. Nope. I've got this. It's there, but it's in the noise for me. It's a very, very... Well, there's a slow scan TV picture being sent on 7780 right now. Is it the radiogram or something? There's a digital transmission right now on 7780. That sounds more like an MFSK type transmission. It's very weak though for me. Plus there's this weird beeping thing. But 7780 is almost never good for me. Almost never. 11.5. I miss 11.580 because it was always amazing. 11.580 was always really good. I don't know if it's the skid zone that's doing that, but 7780 is really bad for me. What else do we have? PLF Radio is listening to KBS, very strong, 3955. Then your Shortwave stays away from shopping on Black Friday. Never appealed to me, fighting for bargains. Yeah, pretty much the same here. William Moser, nice to have you on board, my friend. Jenny Williamson says, Danny Shortwave says, more buttons the better. Jenny Williamson, HDR Uno looks like a Boeing cockpit to me, too many buttons. You know, it all depends on I like the amount of buttons. And, you know, okay, but let's be fair. There's one, and sorry guys, I'm really far in the chat. I know I'm very far. I'll try to go a little faster. One of the things that is nice about it, because I mean, look at the software like Multi-PSK. I always rant about how bad the interface looks and how difficult it is to find one little thing in that darn Multi-PSK software. But for some reason, even though there's a lot of buttons here, it's kind of easier to manage. It's thought out in a different way. I don't know. And, you know, you can remove the modules you don't want, so it does remove some of the the buttons. So you don't have that many buttons to, you know, and you don't need to deal with a lot of stuff. If you've got, you know, the receiver control, you understand the modes, and you know how to choose your frequency, you just have the waterfall and the display. You don't need that much more, except maybe understanding a little bit the RF gain reduction. That I have to get used to, because I'm used to SDRs where you pump up the gain for reception. This one is inverted. You actually pump up the amount of attenuation instead of pumping up the gain. So you got to understand that a little more. Billy Laptop, nice to have you here. Hey, Ralph Bender, nice to have you on board. King Jill. Oh, man, Cyprus. Yeah. Cyprus. That's the thing, Tio. Cyprus. That was not Malta. Cyprus. Thank you so much. I gave the wrong one. Rock Restaurante has Thailand. Had Thailand. S8 in Stockholm. Matam Valley heard Nippon no Kaze yesterday. I never heard that one. NL 13851. Yeah, I missed all the stuff. Aren't you solid crafters? How do SDRs do with single band? And do any of them have sync detection features? Yep. I've got in here SAM, which is the synchronous AM mode. So if I actually click on SAM, it now locks in synchronous. It's a synchronous detector. And I can use the DSB, double sideband, both upper and lower, or LSB or USB, so the upper lower one. So it has everything and more, honestly, Archer Crafter. And they are the performance of these things is as good as, you know, I mean, the performance of the RSP-1A, I can tell you, it's as good as this Icon, 2,000 buck receiver. So it tells you a lot about how amazing these are, actually. So, you know. well, you know, it's the insanity. I understand, Matt. Hal Catalan, nice to have you here. Have you experimented with the Ham It Up No, I've not. I almost purchased a Ham It Up once to test it out. But yeah, I can't compare, unfortunately. But the SDR Play RSP1A is amazing. I don't know about Ham It Up, but well. What else do we have? What else? It is a learning curve. SDR Uno, the first thing that happened, okay? I plug in, so I go to the website, SDR Play, and I download SDR Uno and the driver that goes with it. It's the package that you can download from sdrplay.com. You install that, and you don't plug it in until, if you get an SDR Play, okay, don't plug it in. Start by installing the software, download from the website. It contains the driver. Wait until all of that is installed. And when that is installed, then you plug in your RSP, your SDR Play. And you start SDR Uno. And the first thing that I came through was, okay, why is AM distorted? So I would listen into, the first signal I tuned was, I think it was Voice of America 15580, which was coming very well, but it was totally distorted in the audio. And I was like, what the hell? And I would I would click upper sideband, sound would be great. Lower sideband, sound would be great. I would go back to AM, and it was all distorted. And that was the first thing that I didn't understand. Why was it so distorted? And I Googled it. And the first, I came up with a frequently asked question of SDR Play. And that's where I learned, oh, the low frequency and the main frequency were set in the same frequency, which it's not, it has to be different, or else AM is always distorted, and I didn't know that. I was like, oh, okay, well, that's the first thing. So the first half hour was, how the hell do I get a non-distorted AM signal? So anyways, so it's definitely a digital signal in 7780, by the way, right now. So, and then there's a learning curve. What's the different things? I've got the full SDR Uno manual in my tablet, so I've been slowly checking out. I know that somebody told me that I can actually download the full EIBI schedules in the SDR Uno software, and it will actually apparently tell me what station I'm listening to automatically if I tune a frequency and hear something. So I'm looking forward to it. But I'm kind of learning. This weekend is going to be SDR learning. I'll be reading SDR stuff, tuning around the bands. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. What else do we have? Brian, Iowa, nice to have you here. Says receiving perfect. Alex Champion, nice to have you here. Glad to have you here. PA1WX, nice to have you on board from the Netherlands. Jason Pongratz, I'm using a 22 meter long sloper, east-west direction in my backyard. About 75 feet long, approximately. Rock Restaurante says China Radio International English 7415. Let's try it out. 7415. See if I know I'm far in the chat right now. Sorry, guys. I'm hearing something that isn't English, though. What else do we have? Bill Fagan, nice to have you here. Says new amateur satellite launch. ESL2 will allow 50 QSOs from Brazil to Thailand. SDR can be used with a 60 centimeter dish and a low noise amplifier to receive transmissions. Thanks for the show. Cool, Bill. Always nice to know about all these new amateur satellites. I always find it interesting to see what's coming up. So really, really nice. Really nice. What else do we have? Oh, that's for sure, J.D. Williamson. Drifting radios do keep you by the radio. Bobby Burgess says you can get an Eton Field AM/FM shortwave radio with RDS and Bluetooth. The WFBTB right now on Amazon for $70.99 US. And I heard that that one is actually a pretty decent radio, by the way. Pretty decent radio. Bobby uses his SDR play with GQRX on Ubuntu 16.04. Calvin says, works on cubic SDR, but it's awful. That's the sad thing about it. That's the sad thing about it. What you could maybe do is install the, if you're on the Mac, that's what I would do on the Mac, is install a workable, like Parallels, or there's a free one, the Windows emulator environment, so you can actually have a Windows window with whatever version of Windows you want, and maybe install SDR Uno in that window and see if it works, and you would have the capabilities that you have in Windows on your Mac by using that emulation software. Or use one of the things I would personally do, and I'm just thinking actually that would be a great use for my, I've got an old white Core 2 Duo MacBook that I don't use anymore. Install Windows 7 on it, and use that as a SDR only device, in my case. But in your case, maybe you could use, maybe you could, dual boot, have a little partition with Windows 7, something like that, or Windows 10, and with Boot Camp, and you would have the Windows capabilities for the SDR if you want to, and then you can go back into your Mac and use your Mac as usual when you don't use the SDR. That would be another capability or another way of doing it. But maybe in like in Parallel, and what's the one that's free? There's the Windows environment that's free. It's I forgot the name. I've used it a few times, but that you can actually install, have Windows in there, and you have Windows in the in emulator basically. What else do we have? Calvin says, PD SDR knows only Windows. That works great. Yeah, it is sad. I have to say it is sad. That it only is Windows. That's for sure. Totally sad. It's fun when software is multiple platform. At least, that's kind of cool. What else we have? Bobby Burgess says you can get SDR console working under one, but probably not SDR Uno. Okay. Voice of Turkey on 5980, says Johnny DXer. Let's check 5980. 5980. Yeah. Very strong with the music. 5980. Well, I'm going to put the music volume low because I can tell you one thing. The last time I got hit by the copyright strike, I don't want to do that again. Vivalda 65, take care. Have a great weekend. No shows tomorrow, by the way. And Brian Penny says, Joey can reduce local QRM by using a USB cable with ferric chunks. My USB cable already has that included within the cable, Brian. So the noise level from my computer is pretty much absent. It's pretty much not there. I've got the same noise floor pretty much as if I would tune my analog Icon receiver here, for sure. Brothers Care on 9330 says Johnny DXer. Danny Shortwave says 5 bottles of Sam Adams in 90 minutes going well for me so far. Oh. What else do we have? It's the Shortwave radiogram. Okay, that's what we were hearing. I was hearing the Shortwave radiogram. Cool, thanks for the info. I didn't know it was on at this time. It wasn't very strong though, but I don't know if it would work. So, what else do we have? Risto says 41 meter band, really amazing in Stockholm, Sweden. RT, nice to have you here, Randy, in Riverside, California. Happy Friday to you too. P. Alfredo says, I noticed there's a signal noise indicator. Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of stuff that's really, really nice. So, oh, you can change the RF reduction to RF gain if you want. Okay, I would guess. I would guess there must be a way, probably in the settings or something. I'm getting used to the reduction, so I maybe I'll leave it like that. I don't know. JD Williamson says, "I'm glad my kid doesn't have as many buttons as the SDR Uno software has." And yeah, FLDG does have a lot of buttons and modes, though. A lot of things. Matt says, "I found that SDR Uno synchronous AM and USB LSB is very weird. I'm not sure if it's on hunting for the 0 point or not getting it or what, but straight USB LSB is better in my experience." I noticed that because I tried a few things, and of course, when I started posting that I'm listening with SDR Play RSP1, I got a lot of people giving me little tips and pointers of do this, do that. If you would use that, when you do that, you would have better sound and so on. So of course, I applied some of these and checked out because I'm still learning. I'm learning. I'm at the beginning of learning this thing, and especially SDR Uno, that has like I don't know how many pages the manual has for SDR Uno, but it's just crazy. And I did test listening in with synchronous AM on the double sideband, the DSB setting, which seems to work quite well. And honestly, I haven't tested out with lower or upper sideband because I have noticed that just clicking the upper or lower sideband actually is great. It actually gives me, when it's a little rough in the reception, it actually works just great. So I don't know, I'm not even sure I need to activate the synchronous mode or something, Raymond Challenger, nice to have you here. Says, on my realistic DX394 at the moment, had the receiver since the year 2000, with no problem, still working strong. And he's listening to 7380 AM. Great signal. That's on 7380 right now. Let's check it out here. Anything here? Nothing here on 7380. Oh, it's French. Radio Romania French 7375. I'm hearing that. Radio Romania French 7375 right now. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. What is that signal here? I've got... There's some really weird interference there. Wow, this doesn't happen often. WBCQ on 7490.
Trillions of dollars in bailouts for Bucket and his buddies.
7490 is WBCQ. Pretty cool. Rock Ristorante, great music. 9420 is for you. Yeah, 9420 if you want to listen to great Greek music, of course. Let's check out if 9420 is coming in well here. Very noisy. Greece is very noisy on 9420 right now. Do we have some music now? Yeah. '93, '95 WRMI, pretty in the noise a little bit. '93.30. Some kind of weird guy. 93.90. Mountain Valley, you might check the SDR Uno for any controls on its sync detector. Might need some tweaking for log detection sensitivity. I've noticed that when we put the sync detector, it adds a, if I put it here, Sam, it says off, and it tells you off by how many hertz. So like right now, when I put it in synchronous AM, it says off 114.8 hertz. Is that the amount of how off it is of that signal is in reality? I don't know exactly what that means, and so I don't know if it's what it's saying here, or is it the setting? But it's like moving all the time, as if it's telling me that the signal there is off by a certain amount of hertz. So I don't know. Ray Lyle, nice to have you here. Ray, WA9211 SWL, Southern Illinois. Nice to have you on board. Matam Bali says, if you're using sync detection against a signal that has no carrier, it won't work. There's no carrier. No, you need to. You can't use it on a single sideband signal, of course. It's only on AM signals that you can use the sync detection on any receiver. It's meant to be used on an AM signal. Ray Lyles has been using SDR Uno for over a year now with his RSP1A. Cool. You like your RSP1A? I love mine in SDR Uno. It's really, really nice. But it's good for fading AM signals and stuff like that. You know, Ray Lyles says use SDR console and AirSpy HF Plus that works the best. So, oh yeah, I guess CHU, yeah. Yep, absolutely. VMware, yeah, VMware. Hey, voila, VMware, thank you. I forgot the name, VMware. Matthew Valley says really handy when the medium wave DXing. When you say upper and lower sideband is blocked by another station using fat HD radio signals. Yeah, I don't hear as many. They've reduced, and I've noticed that they've kind of reduced the use of HD on AM signals, because I hear less of that digital kind of hash that it was actually on a lot of signals on the medium wave band. It's as if they're all abandoning HD radio, AM HD. JD Williamson says, just get an old laptop, install Windows on it. Yeah, that you can absolutely do that also. You don't need that. Look, just look here. This is an old desktop with a Core 2 Duo Intel processor, and it actually works perfectly well. It doesn't seem to, take that much power off the PC. If I look at the task manager, I mean, it SDR Uno is using 36%, 40%, not even, it varies from 25 to 40% of CPU load on an old machine, so it's not that bad. The only thing is, if you have an older machine, the problem is mostly if you start pumping up the spectrum display. So for example, here, I'm pretty much limited at 2 megahertz wide. On the machine that I'm streaming with, which is a Core i5, I can get the full 10 megahertz spectrum and it works fine. But on older machines, they'll not have that luxury because it's like too much processing for the computer. Mark Coates says Greece on 9420. Matthew Bally says if you can get a copyright strike for CHU, you can get one for any. Yeah, it's just crazy. Just crazy. JD Williamson says wine. No, thank you. We'd rather have whiskey. Yeah, some of them are really, really funny. Weird. It's like Matt says I have copyright strikes on my videos, but that's because many of them feature someone's music. I don't care as long as there's audio. I once had one where they struck the audio, so I had to delete it. You know what? It's like the last time I had a copyright strike on the live show. I posted the live show 3 hours and 20 minutes or something, and it was unavailable everywhere around the world. When you would click on the link, it would tell you, nope, it's unavailable. There's a copyright song in there, and it's not available anywhere. When they do that, it's like, yeah, go to hell, And because I monetize and I want to have my cash, I will remove, or I have a tendency to be very careful. There's a video that I did of scanning the medium wave band like last year or something. Somebody told me, wow, some of those stations you're moving really fast over them. Why didn't you take the time to let's listen It's like, well, every time there's music, I just jump over it and go to the next station because I don't want to have a copyright strike on whatever's playing there. And I monetize, I live off of it. So unfortunately, if I didn't live off of this, I wouldn't care. I would just put whatever video, and if there's music, as long as they leave it online, I wouldn't have any problems with it. But the problem is I monetize and I live off of YouTube. It's my main income. So I can't allow copyright strikes, or I can't allow music to be there, because I need the maximum amount of monetization of all my videos to so that it works well. So got to be careful with that. Andy Coley, nice to have you here. Says SDR Play One are great, amazing. I'm amazed and I love it. Casper Peterson, nice to have you on board, my friend. Channel Radio 7285. Let's check that out. 7285. 7285. CRI English.
Stage almost level. Especially this continues. Now, this most cases, a lot of people doing cyber work. One thing about the podcast is one of the main reasons
So 7285 Channel Radio. I like the old style analog needle that they put the meter in on the SDR Uno. It's really a lot of fun. Rock the Tech Guy, nice to have you here. William Helms, nice to have you on board, my friend. Nice to have you on board, as usual. From Florida, pretty cool. Matt Bally said that's the difference between a carrier frequency and a shortwave station and the local oscillator. Ah, okay. Okay, interesting. Cool. Ray Lyle says, in Uno, go to WWV, click sync, then you have to do the calibration. Okay. So we need WWV. Has anybody heard anything? We've had like this wave of, let's say, WWV, and I haven't heard anything for a little while now. So I don't know if you guys heard anything. M84 Baxter, nice to have you on board, my friend. Leon Hutchison, nice to have you here. Says SDR Uno is very good. It used to cost a lot until SDR Play had permission to use it with their units. Ah, okay. So you probably when you buy an SDR Play device, you probably pay some fee that goes to the SDR Uno software developers. They probably had some kind of deal so that they could use it. I didn't know SDR Uno was a paid software before. Terry Cook, nice to have you on board. Says the ESL2 satellite Bill mentioned is first amateur radio geosynchronous satellite. Will be 50 new sun-synchronous amateur radio satellites in one launch next month. Wow. Now this you'll need a really good dish because these are far away. Oh, that is cool. First geosynchronous satellites for amateur. That is nice. That is nice. So Ray Lyle says the calibration is in the main display settings, top left corner, all the way to the right tab, then click cal. Okay, so you use WWV and you calibrate with WWV. Cool. That's cool. Johnny DX says SDR console uses a 6 and 7% CPU on my Alienware with an i7. Yeah, on these powerful machines, of course. Hey, look, here I had, 25 to 40%? On my Core i5, the same SDR Uno software takes 16%, I think. It's obviously, the computer is obviously much more powerful than the one that I'm using for streaming. It shows. It can do a lot more. I can actually... here, if I start other software, there will be some cutoff in the sound from time to time because you see that the load is big on the computer. On my laptop, my Core i5 laptop, I can load 8 different software, and it doesn't even affect the performance of the SDR Uno because obviously Core i5s or i7s are much more powerful than the old Core 2 machines. In Uno, I like how you can draw your filters, and I'm still in learning mode, I can tell you that. Tony Perron, nice to have you here. Another episode of the DX Files. This is a great name, though. There should be some. I need to get a couple of my friends and have some kind of DX Files. Do some kind of shortwave episodes or radio episodes of some sort. So man. Yeah, like Danny Shortwave says, an older machine, keep it at 2 megahertz works fine on HF, absolutely. Casper Peterson says, I had the best luck ever, bought a AOR AR5000 for 500 kroner. Okay, that's cool. That AR5000 is pretty good. You got a pretty good device there. Juan Amigo, nice to have you on board from Barcelona. Pretty cool. Dave B, nice to have you here. Says he's enjoying his ICOM ICR 8600. So nice to have you here, Dave, in Detroit, Michigan. Pretty cool. Rob Bender says also try to avoid music in my videos. Pity, really. Yeah, absolutely. JJ Williamson says you live off your videos. Okay, if you put all your videos in a playlist, then I leave my computer playing them all night. Well, you'll have a lot of content, like for example here on the channel, I think I'm at 3,600 videos or something like that. So it's just crazy, but I do live, and it doesn't work like that, by the way, JD Williamson. YouTube is YouTube's algorithm knows when you're actually kind of intentionally watching ads. So when you leave it on, for example, and you start going through the different. At some point, it will not monetize, or it will stop showing ads because it believes that you're probably not, a real person watching all the time. It's amazing the algorithms that Google has for the ads and the stuff. It's crazy. Arthur's Alecrafter's Kitchen says best to use an app like Music ID while making a YouTube video word music. If the app IDs it, you'll get a copyright strike. If not, you're likely. Yeah, because that's what they do. They use the copyright ID stuff to take it off immediately. I just don't put music or very little. Or if there is, it will be very short. Very often they don't clip it if my music is less than let's say 10 seconds. Jay Watterson 69, nice to have you here. Shout out to Paul the Cat, and says give Paul some leftover turkey. No turkey here. It's not Thanksgiving in Canada. It was last month, but he did eat, so it was close. I did cook some chicken today, and he did eat some chicken that I actually cooked. Close enough, chicken, turkey, it's okay. Oh, Ray Lyle says, SDR Uno used to be Studio One. Oh, I didn't know that. You learn all the time. William Helm says he's got his 106-foot dipole. Each ear is 18.5 feet with 3 conductors in series for 53 feet of wire. Okay, and how's the performance on that thing, William? Ray Lyle says SDR Play purchased the rights to the software. Okay, cool. Matt says one of SDR Uno's drawbacks compared to HD SDR is programming the recording. You can program just one instance at a time, nothing recording, and you have to tune SDR Uno to the band you're after. That's interesting. So okay, let's face it. Whatever you do with your computers, whatever software you use for different things, you always end up noticing that each piece of software has its strength. There are things you can do with one that's better on the other. There's no perfect software, There would need to be somebody that sits down, looks at every software and says, that's good, that's good, that's good, and let's put all of that together in one software. But unfortunately, it doesn't happen, and often we end up tuning around with different software for different uses. One of the things I always say, I don't like SDR Sharp, but it's the only one that has so many plugins to do so many things. It's crazy, you know. And I haven't seen any other SDR software, and maybe somebody can correct me here, that has so many different plugins to do different things. It's just nuts. Jason Pongratz says, you need to broadcast your YouTube live show on shortwave radio, pirate style. You know, I've had a few times where there were some pirate stations rebroadcasting my show, actually. Many of you have heard that over the past couple of years. Some pirate stations just picking up the feed and broadcasting. I remember reading in HF Underground a guy posting a link to just posting, oh well, there's a pirate station. He's broadcasting this guy that talks about radio. I wonder what that is. And I was like, yeah, well, it was my live show. Ray Erdink, nice to have you on board from Leeds, UK. Jack Amelar, nice to have you here. NY8D from Grand Rapids, Lowell, Michigan, nice to have you here. Douglas Perry, nice to have you on board from Ontario, Canada. Pretty cool. No, I don't have the shows. You know, I don't take the time to do these things a lot. Maybe I should, you know, every live show should be in a list, a playlist of live shows and everything. But there's a lot of, you know, I should take the time to like, you know, for example, SDR Play, you know, all that I posted should be in a list called the SDR Play and so on, absolutely. So, you know. Al Catalan says, I have a favorite antenna from Sony ICF 2001D. I also have a RF91 balun. Any advice for receiving long wave, medium waves with my AC RF? I am missing the 500 picofarad variant capacitor. Do I need the balun? You know, I'm using a 9.1 balun here. And in my case, it doesn't really affect much. If I have it or not. And I would guess it depends on the setup of everybody. And I'm probably, if I have one weak spot where I can't really help too much is in the antenna side of things. I've never, you know, I've always like experimented. You know, I'm in the antenna side, I'm on the experimental side. I just put up whatever wire and just plug it in and see what happens. And you know, it's the first time I have a professional, let's call it the commercial type built antenna, which is a gift. My sloper is a gift from a user in Europe. It's the sloper I got is a sloper from a European company that makes some of these antennas, and it has a nice big metal box with a 9.1 balun inside, and it's very beautiful. It's the first time that I actually do use a commercial grade antenna, honestly. So Ray Erdink loves his ICOM ICRD 602. Man, if one day I got the cash, I'm going to buy one of those. I can tell you that. Ray Lyle says, have you tried the UHF VHF on Uno yet? It does a good job with it. Yes, and I've been having a lot of fun there too. The only thing I actually purchased on eBay SMA connectors and some coax to be able to easily switch from an antenna to another when I am using SDR Play. I was thinking maybe of some kind of an antenna switch box because now obviously the RSP1A has only one antenna connector. It receives everything from there. So right now when I tune the VHF UHF range, I tune it with my sloper antenna, which is not well suited for that type of use. It might be good maybe in the lower VHF, like 30, 40, 50 megahertz, but it is definitely not good for upper VHF UHF frequencies. Even though the performance I've seen is pretty surprising, but I'm waiting to set it up so I can use my vertical. From the first impressions I have using only my sloper antenna, I would say that I think this thing is going to be great, and I'm going to use it a lot to track and listen to amateur satellites. And I think this is going to bring me at another level of amateur satellite listening and all of that. And the next VHF, UHF show in the month of December, we're going to talk about that. We're going to be talking about, we'll be using the SDR Uno software and the SDR Play on the VHF, UHF range. And I hope to have received all that I need so that that show will be on my vertical antenna using the SDR Play receiver. It works really well. I've used it listening to FM broadcasts also with the RDS functionality. Where I see the limits and where the SDR Play is a little bit of difficulty, you guys know that here where I live, the FM stations are very powerful. And so it does show on the SDR Play. One of the beacon stations that I use to know if a receiver is really sensitive and works well is 107.9 FM, the VPR station in Burlington. I am incapable of receiving it right now, but I am not thinking that it's a problem with the SDR Play, because as long as I don't have my vertical antenna plugged in, I am not going to have a verdict on that side. But I do have the impression the FM stations are overloading the receiver quite a lot. So I don't know. We'll be checking that out, and we'll be testing out, and we'll see. I had a few people, and I think somebody told me, I think it was one of the comments on the VHF UHF channel where I've shown a little bit of me tuning around the VHF UHF range, and somebody posted that he likes one of the problems he seemed to have is overloading on the FM band. So maybe that's what I'm actually having here. But I'm not set up to give a verdict and to talk about it right now. I'm going to wait for my connectors to arrive and for my proper setup with the proper antenna, and then I'll come back with my verdict of what I think. I especially want to see if I can receive satellites with it and stuff like that. If it does work well with that, then maybe it's going to be interesting. Carol, nice to have you here, Radioactive. Nice to have you on board, my friend. Pretty cool. William Helm says, no skin on the meat. My jam is intestines. No, I never leave skin or stuff like that. I almost never give my own food to Paul the cat. Never. I don't want him to be sick. I almost give him only canned food and stuff like that. But there are a few things that I know he likes, like chicken. So when I have some chicken, I will give him a little bit of chicken, no skin. Sometimes I open up a can of tuna or a can of salmon. That he goes nuts, especially tuna. Tuna, I just open the can and he's next to me and he's like meowing. It's like, I want to have that for sure. So he likes that, but I'm careful with what I give, and I give the least amount of home food to my cat. But I would never give the skin, anyways, just the meat. So Matt says, I gave my pet some leftover turkey last night, but it was just the meat, no skin. Yeah. What else do we have? Donald Hosmer, nice to have you here. W8SWL in northern Michigan. Finally got above freezing today, 37. Cool. Casper Peterson, I only use about 10 meter wire, 45 degrees up and a mast now, and I pick up so much. I got the same as 20 SDR, my reference on SDR on my iPad. So happy. Pretty cool. And you probably have low noise if you're getting all of that. That's the main thing. Because I see people with all these fancy antennas, and I'm going to tell you one thing. I am a big fan of the long wire antenna, or just a wire antenna. because it's inexpensive. And you know what? If you don't have too much interference, if you don't have too much noise around you, it actually performs so well, you don't need anything else. It's really, really just the noise level is the problem that will sometimes have us get more fancy antennas like loops or magnetic loops and stuff like that. F4IDL, nice to have you here from France. Bonjour, bienvenue. And it says good evening to all radio lovers from France countryside. Cool. Yeah, that's the thing, Casper Peterson. You're lucky with that for sure. Ray Lyle says I use a coax switch. I put scanner antenna on position 1, Alpha Delta DX on the position 2. So yeah, I'm probably gonna do something like that also because I'm gonna have to check out. Let's check it out here. Well, Radio Romania, as Matt says, Radio Romania in English, pretty good in Denver, Colorado. Mine is really good here in Montreal too. 7310. I think there's also 6170. Yeah, 6170 also. Performance was back in 2007 since it won the bronze medal. I'm going to remove this from here. 7310 is much better. Focused on the Brexit withdrawal agreement. The Romanian government has approved the second budget adjustment this year. And the remaining Foreign Minister Domnul Colonel is on a visit to Seoul, marking 10 years since the signing of the strategic partnership between Romania and South Korea. In Bucharest, President Klaus Iohannis has said that the new Portugal government reshuffle will be postponed until after the 1st of December. And Cristina Badescu will more on this latest development in a commentary by Corina Cristo. So pretty good Radio Romania. Radio Romania, 7310. So that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, I'm going to probably get some kind of switch for my antennas. Jay Watterson 69 says, I can't believe what I'm hearing. It's as if you're totally distancing yourself from the Degen 31 MS. Don't get me back on that thing. The worst part, you know what? I actually stumbled upon it. It's in a box full of other junk. And this week I was looking at in the box, what is in the box. And I said, oh, look at that. The junk Degen antenna is here. You know. Alb Catalan says, about the wire antenna, what would be the optimal length? Longer equal better, or should it not exceed 7-10 meters? What about the thickness, single or multiple wires? Thank you. Honestly, I go with the rule that the longer the better. Why? Because unless you live on a farm where you can put up 400 feet of wire, you never put up a long enough antenna that it is a problem. So technically what I would, in my rule ever for antennas with long wires, were wire antenna, because there's a difference between a wire and a long wire antenna. I believe a long wire antenna is anything above 100 feet. Just look at where you can put it and the longest you can have, and just put it up. And see what happens with that, for sure. Jerry says, all my electronics are acting up this week. Must know it's Black Friday today. Jerry. Oh, man. Nice to have everybody here. Charlie Ussel, 55. Nice to have you on board. Says 24 hours, 6170 in Baltimore. Jeffrey Croft, nice to have you on board from New Hampshire. Almost frozen yesterday. We had 0 Fahrenheit this week, which was the first time. I actually looked, I think it's every day. It's the first time ever that we reached 0 Fahrenheit in November. And pretty much any day. We beat 2 days in a row the coldest temperature we've had. And by a lot. I mean, we beat the record by like 4 degrees, which is a lot. And by the way, just out of curiosity here, I haven't talked about that. And while I take myself another beer, if you want to help me out, there are a few ways you can help me out. So paypal.me/shortwave is one way. You can send me a little donation, or you can send it to the Yahoo email that you see here. And of course, there's Patreon, where you can actually join 12 patrons right now, or 11. I think it's 11. I think somebody dropped off, but it doesn't matter. You know, it's off and on. I mean, people donate when they can. Patreon.com/radio and computers, where you can set up for a donation every month. That's automatically deducted, and of course, it helps out so much. So thanks for everybody who have donated, and it's really, really nice to everybody that have given a little something throughout the year. We're almost in December now, and of course I've got some regular donators every month and so on. It's pretty cool. It helps me continue what I do. If you enjoy what I do, if you like what I do, of course you can contribute equipment if you like. For example, like an RSP1A, which was really nice as a gift. It doesn't have to be a donation in form of money. It could be, you got a radio that you're not using. You want to send me that radio? Just ask for the details, and I'll give you the details, and you can send me that radio you don't use, or anything. It's not just a money thing, but if you want to help out and enjoy what I do, well, it really, really helped out. This year I'm much better in monetization, so I'm not as, going crazy over the donation thing. But, to give you guys an idea, last year, 2017, I would not have been capable of going through that year if the donations would have not been there. Monetization was so low, it was impossible for me to live out of that. And the donations helped tremendously last year. But thanks everybody for donating. Thanks for thinking of me. And as always, I'm trying to get out to the first time donator that somebody that never donated before. When I think about me and think a little something, and it does help me out tremendously. Thanks everybody for the donations, much appreciated. Okay. Now, I need a new beer. I'm just going to remove a little something here because there's like tons of email that came through. Just want to see if everything is all right. Okay, this is good. And here goes. Next beer is going to be a gift from God. Don de Dieu. So, here we go. Gift from God. And let's get that beer going, man. Beer number 2, not too bad. An hour and 45 minutes before I get my second beer. That's not bad at all. A lot of stuff to talk about today. Here it goes. So, Don de Dieu. Gift from God. Cheers, everybody. Look at that. Very beautiful beer. Cheers. So, F4IDL. Does someone know a good way to throw a long wire antenna high up easily? I always put a little weight on. Okay, you got to be careful because it depends where you're going to throw it. And the first thing you got to check is there something you can break? Can it fall on something expensive, or maybe a neighbor's car? You got to be careful with that, first of all. But when I wanted to put something high up in a tree, what I would usually do, I would put some weight. So on at the end of the wire, I would attach the wire in a good knot with a metal bolt or a little object that's kind of a little bit heavy, not too heavy, because you'll be able to throw it farther away, of course, on higher up if it has some weight, because just a wire, it's difficult to send just a wire really high up. But you got to be careful with that, because I mean, you can break something, and maybe that, you know, you got to be very, very careful whatever you're going to do there, for sure. What else do we have? Let's go down here. Casper Peterson says, I live on a far country with only a few houses in the farmer's land. Nothing here but darkness. Yeah, that's why you got low noise. That's perfect for shortwave listening. That's perfect. So that's why you are. That's really, really nice to have that type of place to set up. You know, that reminds me of when I was young, and we would go to the my father's shack up north. You know, there were no neighbors there. We didn't even have electricity. I mean, I would set up a shortwave radio there, and it was amazing all I could hear. It was so low noise. It was just totally nuts. So, you know. Matambali says a small sandbag and some rope tied to it works well. Or a slingshot and fishing line plus a weight. So, you know, just put a little something heavy. Charlie R. Souls 55 says, yeah, get a cheap fishing pole from Walmart and some heavy sinkers. Matt says, 111 watching, but only 39 thumbs up. Everybody give a thumbs up. Just tell the neighbors you're fishing for squirrels, Tom Valley says. Johnny DX says, buy Gilles more beer. Matt says, it's surprising to me that Montreal doesn't get that cold routinely in November, Gilles. We get that cold every November here, although we also have nice warm spells too. You know, November here we do get some cold spells in November, but not cold like we had now. You know, it will drop down to, say, minus 10 Celsius in November. That would not be kind of something that's, you know, unusual. So we do have some cold spells, but not cold like we had now. We have beaten cold records 2 days in a row here. You know, it's more like Montreal in November is more like close to the 0 degree mark, around 32 Fahrenheit, more or less, than being down to minus 18 Celsius like we have, you know, 0 Fahrenheit. The temperatures we got this week is more of what we get in January. That's what we get in January. And pretty much steady January weather is that, you know. November, yes, is colder. It's that month where we're starting to see that we're getting into the winter months. But, you know, it's usually a little warmer than that. Even though it is kind of getting cold, you know. Radioactive, 45 Fahrenheit in Prineville, Oregon. So, fishing squirrels will get me hospitalized. Right Tire, nice to have you here. Says, well, Joe, I don't see you typing. Is Paul the Cat your producer? Yep, absolutely. He's the one typing everything. He's actually the one looking at the chat room also. He's pointing to me with his paw. Everything that's important. Nice to have you here. Ray Lyle says, did you hear Radio Australia got $2 million fund? Radio Australia may come back to shortwave. You got to be careful. It's not Radio Australia that gets the $2 million fund. It's the Northern Territory Shortwave Service that got the money. That would get the money. Because that's also the other thing. They did not get $2 million fund. It's they're having elections, and they promise that if they win, they will give $2 million to get the shortwave service of the Northern Territories of Australia back on the air. So it's not Radio Australia that's back. It's really the Northern Territories shortwave service within Australia itself. It ain't done yet. I mean, they got to win the election. So you know, we're extremely far from that possibility. But that said, you know, let's try to be positive and let's try to hope that it might be there. Let's cross our fingers. What else do we have? What else do we have? Let me check it out. I have 4 ideal childhood souvenirs, but aiming high instead of glasses. Radioactive eating barbecue wings and cherry Dr. Pepper. Wow. I'm gonna have the barbecue wings. That's pretty good with beer. Jerry says, I see you decorated your radios with lights. Do you did you put your tree up? Yes, absolutely. My tree is all done. The village. The only thing I need to set correctly, I have a little train in the village that goes around, and it keeps derailing all the time. So I need to find a way to stabilize the tracks so that the little train doesn't derail when it actually goes around the little village. But my tree's been. I started putting up my tree last week. We're at 23. Last week was what? Last week. Last Thursday of last week. It was snowing outside, which I gotta do the Christmas tree. So yep, I got my Christmas tree up in the living room. Department of Defense. J.D. Williamson says, I'll take a Jameson. Department of Defense says, we only got Eagle Rare Bourbon. So, yeah, that's exactly what I was saying, as Matt says. And it's really just, you know... Jerry DX, yeah, I got the SDR Play RSP1A, which is a gift from Simon Templar that's in the chat room. And it's an amazing device, and I'm using SDR Uno software with it. So really, really am in love with the RSP1A. It's a beautiful device. So, you know. Wanda D'Souza, nice to have you here. Hola. Jerry says, use a drone with a hook. Yeah, today you can use drones to put antennas up. That's true. A bottle rocket. Use one of those hobby rockets, you know, that you can actually send. I got one here. I think there's one here close. Model rocketry. I used to send a lot of rockets, do a lot of model rocketry. That could have been a nice way to put up a wire antenna in a tree very high. Rob Webster, nice to have you on board from England. Pretty cool. Ray Lyle says 1 month and 1 day until Christmas Eve. Yeah, it is totally nuts. Totally nuts. Where I mean, time flies like it's just crazy. I can't see the time. Oh, that's why I got my phone here buzzing. So it's just crazy. I mean, I haven't seen anything. I have the impression I haven't seen anything this year. And you know, and pretty much the year is going by, and like what the hell is happening? So it's just nuts. Radioactive has some AL soundings on 7480. F4 IDL says, I'm not sure if it was the video of Act 5 using drone for ADSB antenna or another video. Yeah, I've had something like that. I remember seeing something like that. Nathan Valley says, every year I say I'm going to start earlier. You know, it's just crazy. My Christmas story is the same every year. Every year, you know, I'm the guy that is going to have family and friends over on Christmas Eve. It's always been like that for years. And what's happening is that every year I tell myself I'm going to buy some of the stuff in advance. I'm going to freeze it, and I'm gonna, I'm gonna have. It's gonna cost less when Christmas arrives and everything. And every year I do the same. I buy every damn thing that I need for my Christmas Eve party in the 10 days before Christmas. And of course, I have to go through all of the, you know, problems of having a million people in the stores, which I totally hate. If there's one thing I hate about Christmas is the fact that it's really the fact that there's too many people in the stores and it's driving me nuts. As for the rest, I love Christmas. I am one of those, I see on my Facebook feed everybody like, there's always someone somewhere saying, well, you put up your Christmas tree, it's way too early and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, hey, I love Christmas. Let me be, okay? I love Christmas. If you hate Christmas, just, mind your own business and look somewhere else. You don't have to look at the fact that I posted a picture of my Christmas tree. And, but, let it be. I like Christmas. I like starting early. My regular Christmas stuff is I put up the tree around the 15th of November and I leave it up until about the 15th of January. So there's a 2-month period when I have the Christmas tree. And one of the reasons also is that for me, it's not just a Christmas tree. It's a winter colorful tree. It's kind of cool to have that tree with, all the lights and colors and stuff. And it's kind of nice. And, but, some people like Christmas only for 2 weeks. I love Christmas and I don't care about, mid-November. I'm okay. Hey, Keegan, nice to have you here. XNADXer from Northwest Arkansas. Always nice to have you on board. Ray Lyle says you can buy the metal case for the RSP-1A on Amazon. Cool. I might check that out. I think it was Paul that had the Let It Be. That Let It Be song from the Beatles. Blurred Forperkle says he likes Christmas when it's Christmas. Cool. Hey, my friend from Athens, Greece. Nice to have you on board. Arthur's Alley Crafter's Kitchen says, fired up one of my newer sets, the Kenwood R2000. When lit, it's a Christmassy look. Yeah, these are beautiful radios for sure. Bud Householder, nice to have you on board from Ohio. Pretty cool to see people are here. Keegan says 49 Fahrenheit over there. Yeah, here it's about, what is it now? It's -5. It's holding up at -4, -5, so kind of around the 20s. We've had some really cold weather this week. So we're at 2 hours in the show, and of course you're watching the Shortwave show from Montreal, Quebec, Canada. This is a live show every Fridays, 2000 hours Universal Time. And of course, we talk about Shortwave. Today we're talking a little bit about the SDR Uno and the SDR Play RSP1 software. So kind of nice to have all of that here. It's cool to see everybody and enjoying the live show as usual. Okay. Maybe we could take a look at what's on the bands. Anybody listening to any signals right now that is interesting? Hey, David in Barcelona, nice to have you on board. Been watching for some time while having dinner, but I haven't been able to get on the chat till now. Cool to have you here. It's always fun to have you here, David. That's for sure. So let's check it out. 2200 hours UTC. We're going to check out what signals we can tune in, if any. 2200 hours, there is M12 on 6859 CW. Let's check it out. Let's try 6859 CW mode. Let's see if we hear anything pop up at 2200 hours UTC. This would be, I believe M12 is a Russian number station. I think I'm hearing it. It's just, where am I tuned? I'm tuned 6859. Yeah, definitely hear the Morse code, but it's not very strong. Let's put it in another way. I did hear a little bit of it. It's not very strong though. But I'm pretty sure I heard some Morse code unless I'm crazy. Which is also totally possible, by the way. Blurred fur control. Yeah, absolutely. This is a shortwave radio. Well, it's actually a wideband radio. It's an SDR. It's a SDR Play RSP1. It's a software-defined receiver, so it's a little black box I got here. And it's plugged to my outside antenna. And I can receive any signal from 1 kilohertz up to 2 gigahertz. And so, yep, this is the screen controlling the radio and checking out the different signals. So it's pretty cool to have everybody here. HM01 strong on 10715. Let's check that out. 10715. It's very weak over here. Let's check out the different time signal frequencies. 20 megahertz for WWV. Nothing. WWV on 15 megahertz is coming in. $50 megahertz. Let's try 10. Not really hearing it on 10. Very weak on 10. And not very weak on 5. Let's try CHU. Wow, very strong on 3330 CHU.
Canada. 1 minute, 22 hours, 3 minutes.
So my clock is pretty accurate. So I got a pretty strong CHU on 3330 right now. Bud Householder says 6859 CW numbers is 2 over there. So Keegan's not hearing WWV on 15. And we're going to try the other frequency at 2220. M12 is on 7459 with CW numbers also. We're going to check that out to see if we can hear it. So really strong. I don't hear 3330 that strong often, honestly. It's pretty amazing. Wow. Look at that. Pretty strong signal here. Really good. This is amazing.
HU, Canada. Coordinated Universal Time. 22 hours, 4 minutes.
Pretty amazing. And of course, I'll have to fight that copyright strike probably for CHU time signal. So what's at 2200 that we can try out here? Let me just check the schedules here on the tablet. So 22. 22. Radio Havana, Cuba, 11880 in French. Let's check it out here. Cuba in French is coming in. 11880. Don't really hear anything there. Cuba is on 11760. In Spanish, 11760. Radio Havana, Cuba. 11760 for Cuba. Matt says, I think RC is on the summer only. Yeah, I don't know, but it's all I know is it's written here on the EIBI list of frequencies, so it's possible because I tried it a few times, Matt, and I didn't hear it, so it's possible that they don't use this one. It's totally possible because I remember hearing 11880 from time to time. All India Radio. Let's try All India Radio on 9445. Very weak over here. And I do get a little bit of the DRM signal off of it on 7550. Anything else here? What's here? It's so funny because I never hear 7780 really well. And look at that, 7780 is coming in really well right now. It's in Italian. Oh, it's Radio Argentina all'Exterior via WRMI in Italian, 7780. It's Argentina via WRMI in Italian, 7780. Well, I rarely get a signal that strong from WRMI on 7780. I can tell you that. Blurt Work and Poll. What's the significance of finding these signals? I am a complete novice, so what is the goal? Well, first of all, there's multiple types of signals, and it's a question of being a fan of radio signals and listening to the radio. But there are stations from all over the world you can listen to in English, and there's all sorts of transmissions of all kinds. For example, from Chesapeake, Virginia, I believe right now, yeah, 6501. This is Maritime Station from Chesapeake, Virginia, 6501. So it's a question of knowing that, first of all, just to give you an idea, I'm located in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. I just heard a signal from WRMI and that was before. Well, that's in Florida, and I'm in Montreal. That's cool. Chesapeake, Virginia, 6501. That's a maritime station from the U.S. Coast Guard giving weather, and that's in Virginia. I'm in Montreal, Quebec. We heard Romania earlier. Romania in English, giving programs in English from Romania to Montreal. It's just amazing to think that radio signals on the shortwave bands actually are, propagating so far. But it's a question of enjoying the hobby of radio. It's not everybody that enjoys that. We've talked about it a few times. How we kind of look like weirdos, and everybody looks at us and says, "Oh, you're listening to those noises again." And it's like, I don't know. It's like everything in life. You like something or you don't, and I think we're a bunch of fans of radio. It's kind of cool. And today's technology, like software-defined receivers like these, add another side to the hobby that is just crazy that we didn't have 30 years ago, and it just is amazing to hear these signals from all over the world, honestly. Does anyone F4 IDL. Does anyone else have problems updating EIBI database on Android? What do you mean by updating? Just seeing the website? I'm on Android right now. I'm using Android, and I've got EIBI space here on Android. But I have to say, I am using Microsoft Edge browser because it syncs with everything I do on Windows. So that's what I like about it. I could use Google Chrome too, but I don't have any problems with that. If you're talking about your browser, maybe you should. What you could do is clear the cache from the browser within whatever browser you're using, and use a good browser. If you're on Android, don't use the stock browser that comes with devices. They're always very crappy. You know, like on my Samsung phone, I don't use the browser that comes with that Samsung wants me to use. That's the crappiest browser you can use. I always install Google Chrome, or in my case here, I use Microsoft Edge because I use Edge on Windows, and it works fine because it you know. Oh yeah, absolutely, Matt. I know it could be wrong. It's absolutely possible that that frequency is not right. There's actually this week tuning a lot more demands with the SDR play. I've noticed that there are a lot of frequencies and a lot of things that I've heard that weren't in the AIBI space list. So, these shortwave lists, and that's something you got to be careful, because I have sometimes people saying, well, that's that station because that's what it says here in that list. No, these lists are never 100% accurate. Shortwave stations change all the time. Some of them change their minds after 2 weeks, and will be on another frequency and so on. So 7550 is not Radio Romania MDK2. It's All India Radio, Matt. 7550 is All India Radio's DRM transmission. I can hear it barely. It's not very strong, but it was there earlier. 7550. It's really All India Radio. Arthur's All the Crafters Kitchen says All India Radio Week in Massachusetts. 7780 comes in great. David, it's not retired, but I got to say that it's got really, really big competition now, because I now have been gifted a SDR Play RSP1A SDR by Simon Templar that was in the chat room. And I got to say that it's so amazing. I think I'm going to have a hard time using my ephedry now. But you know what? The ephedry has its own thing that I like. I'm sure there's a way you can probably put it in the network. But what's happening is that my RSP1A needs to be plugged on the USB, so I can listen to it in my office here, where the ephedry is on my network, easy to configure, so I can listen to it anywhere on any device. So I think each will have its own use, basically. But I gotta say, the RSP1A is amazing, and it's obviously better at what it does than the ephedry SDR for sure. J.D. Williamson, have you ever tried to use a pen adapter on any of your older radios? Nope, never. Yeah, it's All India Radio, Matt. Absolutely. Absolutely, Johnny the Xer. Oh, on the app. I haven't had any problems. Do I have it here? Let me just check it out here. Did I install the app? Okay, for example, I got Skywave Schedule. If I go to Skywave Schedule, I probably have the other one, which is Shortwave Schedule. So Skywave Schedule, if I look at it here, let me just check it out here. Update schedules. Do we want to update the schedules? Yes. Updating schedules, please wait. And it's downloading the schedules. I can see here, downloading adata.csv, download complete. Schedules updated successfully. So right now, if I type 6, so frequency 6501 in shortwave, and search, it's telling me that, okay, I got it. Just add, okay, it's utility. And here you go. Frequency 6501. Just put that here. It should technically tell me that it's where is the utility switch? There's a utility switch in here, right? Yeah, okay. Utility filter. Okay. Stations move to the utility list. Yeah. Okay. I don't know why it doesn't find it, but they did update the schedules now. So that one Skywave schedules did update. Let me check that out here. Broadcast. Okay. Remove it. Utility. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. Unless if I check out the Shortwave schedule app. I got that one also from Stephen Cooper. Shortwave schedules. Shortwave schedules is here. Yeah. This one too is updating correctly. So I don't know. I don't have any problems updating on my Android tablet here. I'm running Android 7. So I don't know if it makes a difference, but I got no problem here. Maybe remove the app and reinstall it F4IDO. Maybe that's the problem. Uninstall the app and reinstall it and try it again. JDX Chrome is the best. Yeah, it depends what you do. I actually do enjoy Edge quite a lot, but it is it's like a SDR software. It's a question of preference a lot. I try to stay away from Chrome as much as possible. That's me. And I mean, for most people, Chrome is perfect. I don't mind whatever browser or software people use. I've never been a picky person, especially when I was doing a lot of tech jobs. And when you do tech jobs, you get asked the questions all the time. Well, a friend of mine told me to use Chrome or Internet Explorer, and my question is always, well, does it do what you want? Yeah. You like it? Yeah. You just answered the question of, should you keep it or not? It's your own thing, I will not change the habit unless there's some known thing. For example, today, of course, I would never say to someone to use Internet Explorer. It's getting, it's an old browser, and it's really, you need to move on to something else. But if somebody uses, Opera or Chrome or Firefox or Edge, my question will always be, do you like the browser? It does what you want. If you tell me yes, you've just answered your questions. David says he added the 50-second thumbs up. Arthur's Alec Roger Kitchen, Chesapeake, Virginia, 6501, USB clear as a bell. Cool. Bud Householder says, reminder, CQ Worldwide CW contest begins at 0 UT today. There will be stations from all over the world on the air in Morse code. So that could be of interest to listen to these CW signals. So, and if it's a great way to brush up on, it's a great way to brush up on your Morse code and to if you don't at all want to learn it, you can use a piece of software like FLDG or multi-PSK or CW Skimmer and just decode it off the PC. These software always have a little bit of problems though, because it actually, manually sent Morse code from a human is always a little bit variable, so the software sometimes have a little difficulty with the variation in speed. But it does part of the job at least. F4IDL says, "Oh yes, it's not been working for days and now it just works great." Sometimes it happens. Sometimes it happens. F4IDL says the EIBI Manager Pro app was not working, but now it is. Sometimes there's a update. David says, "Cool, Joe. Now you have to find a way to put your hands on an AirSpy HF Plus. As far as I know, it's a great SDR2 and in pretty fierce competition with the SDR Play." Yeah, we'll have to check that out. Absolutely. Evangeline Farrell, nice to have you here. David says, "As far as I'm concerned, I'm more of a physical radio person, so I should soon receive an ICOM IC 7100 that I ordered months ago and that couldn't ship from Japan due to weather issues." Well, let's hope that it's going there for sure. Sean Fine, nice to have you on board. Good night. Take care, my friend. Always nice to have you here. Pretty cool. Relyle says it's right up with Perseus. Man, pretty cool. Pretty cool. Hey, Fastload. Nice to have you on board, my friend. Oh man, JD Williamson. You know what? My first time, it says Internet Explorer. Remember when it was a native on Mac? The first time I ever went to because when I started my my tech jobs in 2000, I didn't want to touch Mac PCs. And when you understand computers, you go through a Mac. Even though you're a Windows guy, you go through a Mac and you find out where things are. But it's just that I've never used a Mac, so I didn't know where things were. It's not like in Windows. When you use Windows all the time and go into settings, you know where all the settings are. And the first time I actually got paid to fix a problem on a Mac was around 2001. Somebody called me and says, "Oh, I have a problem. I click Internet Explorer and the web pages don't load up." And so I went to see the lady to fix her PC, but you mentioned Internet Explorer, so it didn't come and cross my mind that might be a Mac. And I got there, and she had an old, I think at that time was like an old Mac G4 or something, or G5. And I was like, "Oh, it's a Mac. Okay." So I remember looking at, okay, yeah, the page doesn't load, so what's happening? And that's where I started learning. I learned a little bit about, oh, okay, this is where the connections are happening in Mac and how it works and so on. Until I decided, because after about 2 or 3 years, I had fixed a lot of problems on Mac PCs because I never asked if it was a Mac or a PC. So I thought, okay, it's time that I learn a little more, and that's when I bought my first MacBook, because I wanted to really, really get my hands on a Mac PC and learn more about it and know where to go when something happens and learn much more about it. But it was just funny, But what was interesting is that Internet Explorer, and Microsoft Office is what saved Apple, because Apple in 1998 was about to file for bankruptcy. It was a lost company, and Microsoft struck a deal back then where they said, "Okay, we'll have a deal with you. Put Microsoft Office and Internet Explorer, and we're going to give you I don't know how many millions they gave Apple to have that on their computers, but those millions of dollars that they gave them, and the fact that Steve Jobs came back together, turned Apple around, and it became a giant like it is today. So you can say that basically Microsoft saved Apple's ass in 1998, but it had, of course, a side to it. They wanted to have Microsoft software on Mac computers. I never used, honestly, I never used Internet Explorer that much. When I started on the internet, the first browser I've used was Netscape, and I used Netscape for a long time. I switched to Internet Explorer at some point because Netscape was not being updated anymore, and there were some issues, and Internet Explorer was the thing. I used Firefox for a while, and of course Google Chrome came along, and I used Google Chrome. I've never been much of a Internet Explorer lover. Matt says behavior night on WBCT 7490 picking up in Denver. I was hearing 7490 earlier. I don't know if it's still coming in right now. Yeah, pretty good. Look at that, with old style music. That is fun to listen to on a tube receiver. Any tube shortwave radio, listen to that old time music. Really, 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 really amazing. Keegan says, WRMI, strong on 99.55. Let's try that. We'll remove the music in the background. That might be, it's very weak over here, 99.55. The 99 WRMI on 99.55 is really sending a signal towards Central South America, so it's always a difficult one for me here. No, Arctic Alley Crafters. That's because you're close, you're like me in Massachusetts. You're close, like me. I am close to WBCQ. So what happens at this time of year? A lot of their frequencies will actually propagate over us. The first bounce of the signal is over us, so we don't hear them very well. My best frequency was 5130, and even 5130 is not very good lately for me. It's really a question of the time of year and the types of propagation of signals. It's much better in the summertime for me too. They don't have any problems. That might change with their new 500 kilowatt transmitter in early 2019. Take care, Ray Lyle. Nice to have you here. Nice to have you here. Hey, Kimberly, K6YYL. Nice to have you on board from California. Hope you're safe from the fires. Man, we've seen all of these videos, scary videos, man, of all the fires there in California. It's crazy. Really crazy. What else do we have? David says, okay, thanks. I have an unused realistic Minimus 5, just like Joe. The one Joe uses on 8500. Bought a pair on eBay. So, yeah, these are good. These are pretty good. Yeah, absolutely. Microsoft saved Apple's ass totally. Totally. It gave them the cash they needed to kind of restart. It's something a lot of people don't know, that Microsoft saves Apple's ass in the late 90s by doing a deal with them. If that would not have happened, I wonder what would have happened. They would have filed for bankruptcy, and I don't know. I don't know what would have happened. All of these iPhones and I don't know. Would have been interesting. It would be, sometimes it'd be fun if we could go back in time and take the same moment and say, okay, I want to see that reality where Microsoft did not do that deal and Apple files for bankruptcy. And what will we have in technology in the next years? You know, would it change something? Would they just, file for bankruptcy and restarted new somehow and maybe got back? I don't know. It would have been interesting. It's interesting sometimes to think, what would happen? Arthur's Alleycrafter's Kitchen says, does anyone in the channel restore antique radios? I'm working on a 1932 at Waterkent Model 627 console, one of their first superhits. Wow. These are amazing. Yeah, Netscape Navigator. That was something back then in the 90s and late 90s. Oh, God. Arthur Crafters. Exactly. That music was made for tube sets. Absolutely. Absolutely. Brian Finney says 7490 Behavior Night, Solid S9 in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Yeah, I've got an amazing signal on 7490. I usually don't hear them much. Propagation is quite peculiar this time of year. Bobby Burgess, 90s browsers. If I had a choice between IE and Netscape, it will be Netscape. I was a Netscape guy for a long time. I mean, I used Internet Explorer because I didn't know much about Netscape in the first few weeks of Internet. And then a friend of mine showed me Netscape and I was like, oh, I like that. I want to try that. David says, I've used Internet Explorer for years, no issue or anything at all. Over last year, I switched to Edge, my main browser. I like Edge. I find Edge is a great browser. But, it's a question of preference. I use Edge because I've got multiple Windows machines that all synchronize together. And I have Edge on my tablet because I can use Timeline and I can use all the sync of the Edge browser on my Android tablet. It's mostly a thing that I like because of that, because I would probably use Google Chrome, I mean, here I'll use Chrome on that. This is a Windows 7 machine. I use Chrome on that. If I have no choice, if I can't use Edge, I use Google Chrome. I'm not going to touch Internet Explorer, I'll tell you that. And I like to, software is something it's fun to sometimes change and go around. And I like to try different browsers and see how they are, Opera and Firefox. See each browser and how to go. Opera is nice. It's got a built-in VPN. Kind of cool. But it's a question of preference, honestly, for the most part. Sheldon RB, nice to have you on board from Greenfield Park, Quebec. Pretty cool. And I'll be part of the CKUT International Radio Report on Sunday, 15:30 UTC, 10:30 a.m. in Montreal. This is pretty cool. And always nice to have you on board, Sheldon. Danny Shortwave says the movie Pirates of Silicon Valley ends with Bill Gates and Steve Jobs during a keynote speech about Microsoft spending millions to save their butt. Yeah. Brian Penny says, I guess being 30 miles out in the ocean is a good thing for WBCQ. No, because you know what? You're close like I am. I'm probably, well, I don't know. If we put Montecito, Maine on the map, we're pretty much, anybody in Massachusetts is pretty much in the same distance that probably I am from Montreal, here in Montreal, Quebec, from the WBCQ transmitter site. It's really much more a question that tonight, propagation makes it good for us to get 7490. Because, it's super strong. It's S9 plus 10, 20. It's very, very strong. Just going to lower that music in the background because I don't want to have a copyright strike. But very strong tonight. And I rarely have 7490 that strong. Rarely. So it's going to be interesting to see. Propagation seems to be very, very peculiar tonight, for sure. What else do we have? Kimberly says, yes, I'm safe for the fires. Thank you for asking. I think we're about an hour away from the closest fire. Okay. You know, these fires go so fast. You know, it's just crazy. I was watching somebody was telling me the other day, you know, when you don't know how these things happen, somebody was asking me the other day, I don't understand these people that get stuck in the fire on the road and so on. Just drive. No, you don't understand. I was watching a couple of years back. I watched a documentary about a forest fire that happened right here in Quebec in the summertime, and firefighters and people were stuck in the middle of the fire. And of course, we all think the same when we don't know what we are talking about. Is like, why don't you get out of the fire, you know? And that documentary explained that how fast a forest fire, can actually go. And from blue sky, everything's beautiful, everything's nice, and you don't think that nothing's bad's gonna happen today, to being in hell in the middle of the forest fire, it literally takes minutes. And that's where you understand that, wow, just a change in wind can change your world from it's perfect to it's hell on earth. And it's just crazy how these things can happen. Radioactive. If Microsoft did not bail out Apple, Samsung would be making the iPhone now. The Samsung iPhone. Oh, man. Samsung iPhone. You guys see that today? Samsung paying a lot of money, many millions, to because they killed their employees. They admitted today that their factories in South Korea were so bad that a lot of their employees got sick and actually died from the toxic fumes from creating all of these computer chips and all of these, LCD screens. It's just bad when you think about it. It's like so sad. But somebody told me in the tech channel, well, I'm not buying Samsung anymore. I'm sorry, Apple isn't better. Apple is using Foxconn, which is one of the major big companies that is treating its employees like junk. And I mean, every company has some bad side to it. And I'm sorry, Apple isn't better than Samsung in many respects. And, at the other end, there's us that buy that stuff and, pay $1,000 for a lost phone from a factory probably where a lot of people are really not necessarily, well paid. I guess, that's life. All I gotta say. Gary Horobin, nice to have you on board from Tokyo, Japan. You cold weather? What's the temperature in Tokyo? He says weather is cold this morning. Okay, here we had minus 18 Celsius 2 nights ago. 0 Fahrenheit. And there's about 8 to 10 inches of snow on the ground here. Or about 15 to 20 centimeters on the ground right now. So, yeah, it looks like winter. A little early. So, how cold? So, what do you define as weather is cold this morning in Tokyo, Gary? I'm just curious. So, morning radio DXing. That's cool. That is cool. Absolutely. Brian Penny is offering for trading notes. Cool. Other Crafter Kitchen says, "Yo, I have a video on my channel showing you add water. I'm gonna check it out. For sure. I like videos of old receivers. I don't remember the name of the channel. There's one guy that does only that, restore old radios. And you know what? He's got these 1 hour long videos of him just tweaking and playing around in these old receivers from the 40s and 50s and whatever. I mean, I can sit there and just look at that video all night. It's like, who needs Netflix? Let's watch a video of some guy fixing an old tube radio from 1930s. Yeah, Edge is getting better, Keegan. There was a time when Edge had a lot of problems with certain specifications on websites, but it's getting pretty good. But you know, the thing is, a lot of websites are actually optimized for Google Chrome because they know that the majority of people are using Chrome. So a lot of websites are totally optimized for Chrome because they say, well, you know, it's the most popular browser. As far as speed goes, Chrome versus Edge. I haven't done it in a while, but I have done a speed test on browsers in my my tech channel about a year ago. Maybe it's time for another one. The fastest browser I found was Opera. It was the fastest browser. Chrome is a little slower. Edge wasn't bad at all, actually, in speed. But it's very difficult to compare sometimes. You know why? Because when you run Windows, one of the tricks that's happening is that Edge, the basics of the Edge browser are already loaded in RAM. So it's almost as Edge is like 70%, already 70% loaded in your computer. When you do the same with Chrome, when you start Windows is 0% loaded in here. So if you click from a fresh start, Edge pops up like this because the module's already there. Chrome takes all the time it takes to, load, go into memory, and so on. It's not because it's slower. It's because it doesn't have one advantage that Edge does, being part of the operating system. So, anyways, enough computer stuff. I'm thinking of Fastlow saying, let's stop talking about computers, please. Arthur's Autocrafter says there were the Cadillacs of radios in the 20s to early 30s. I live in the town where Arthur Artwater Kent grew up and went to college. Oh, nice. I'd like to see that for sure. Blurred Furkable says it was the wind. The Santa Ana's blow fires up quick. The wind is crazy for that, for sure. Kimberly says, yep, pretty scary, for sure, absolutely. The Samsung iPhone. Hey, Billy Laptop. Man. Says Blanco Lee Rios YouTube channel for his latest video interview with Paradise Fire survivor who helped evacuate local hospital. Well, if Apple made a car, would it have windows? Would you guys get in a car that is running Windows 10? So, I'm in a car with Windows 10. Oh, we're going to die tonight. We're going to have a road crash or something. Where are we? I don't know. My GPS has a blue screen of that. Oh, God. Arjun Wiesman, nice to have you here. Says, hello from Cyprus. You're just 2 hours and 43 minutes late. It's okay. No problem there. Late or not, you're always welcome. Everybody's always welcome. Arjun, nice to have you here. Nice to have you here. Oh, God. Transparent aluminum. Oh, man. Brian Penny. Apple knows how to market their products pure and simple. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain. Oh, absolutely. Apple is a great, great, great marketing company. Absolutely. It's their major force for sure. Gary Horvin says, I lived for 5 years in Montreal, Saint Lazare. Yeah, it's true. You had told that before, yeah. So you know how cold it can be. Absolutely. Oh, man. Autumn Valley says, likely have all kinds of incompatibilities with anything you bought from the purest Apple car. Oh my god. It's still plus here. So, but you know, even plus when it's kind of cold. Then Celsius in Barcelona last time I looked. Oh man. Oh, you know, if I would be in Barcelona today, I would be wearing this T-shirt. I was like, wow, it's so warm in Barcelona. There's a funny picture that people post all the time on Facebook, where they show like winter in Canada and like so it says, you know, plus 10 Celsius in Canada in October, and we're wearing a winter coat. And then there's the same picture, but it says plus 10 Celsius in Canada in March, and we're all wearing T-shirts. I was like, oh man, it's so warm. That's pretty much us. Absolutely. Arthur Soundcrafter. Yeah, Mr. Collins Lab. Yeah, absolutely. He's superb. He has a 3-hour video showing a Hammerland restoration. I like that guy. He's like, you know, it's like really like just day to day, just really relax, you know. Oh man. Danny Shortwave says Apple almost went bankrupt because of failed Apple Newton PDA trying to compete with Palm at the time. You know how technology changes. I was a big Palm user. I had a Palm. I had 3 different Palm devices, including a Palm TX. I actually have 2 of them somewhere here. I'm gonna check here because I'm just curious to see if by any chances there wouldn't be one hiding in this little spot here. And my Palm TX are still working, and I mean I was the first when I started my tech jobs. I had a Palm device that I would have my all my appointments in. I totally love Palm, and you know what? There are things in the Palm devices that I still miss today that were just amazing in these devices. But it's funny how the world changed from Palm being nothing with the iPhone and the smartphone market suddenly like taking over and just, you know, I mean, Palm had the market for PDAs. If it had just a vision, it would have had probably it would have been the first to be popular with a smartphone. It never did. You know, that's where vision and where your company goes. B, hey there, the little Panasonic on your left. Oops, I should go back here. On your left here is so simple in its form factor. Yeah, absolutely. They're basic and right to the point. It's not like a SDR with tons of buttons and stuff like this, you know? Just crazy. Just crazy. Just crazy. Ah, man. Oh, Kimberly's studying for her extra class license. I'm sure you're gonna get it. I can't even imagine you're not gonna get it. I'm sure you're gonna get it, and I'm sure you're gonna get it. Come on, come on. Oye, Luis Peña Sanchez. ¿Cómo está, mi amigo from Madrid? EC4TR. Nice to have you on board, my friend. Always cool to have all of the people, everybody around the world. Matt, Palm fell behind kind of the same way BlackBerry. You know, same thing. BlackBerry. You just couldn't cope. But I do remember when everybody had a lot of people. You know, everything was about BlackBerry. Absolutely. You know, as a tech guy, I had to deal with that. That time when iPhones started being popular and people had BlackBerry phones. I was like, whoa, okay, I got to deal with those 2 technologies that are totally different and work in totally different ways. I was like, whoa, really, really crazy, you know. But you know, that's life, and that's where you know you see the vision of a company. You know, having good people that see the future is important because you just lose touch. You just lose touch. I can tell you that. And these companies, BlackBerry and Palm, show you that they didn't have a vision for the future. They lost touch. They couldn't cope. You know, there are things, even big companies fail. You know, I mean, I talk about Microsoft regularly about their Windows Phone. they, they had, it was small, but in smartphone, 3% of the market is huge. It's millions of devices you're selling. And you just abandon and you just treat it like it's nothing. Of course you're not going to win. Just crazy. Archer's Helicopter says, Joe, the sync detect on your SDR is making me think now. Would be a blast to play with, but I do love putting my hands on a vintage radio. Well, you know what? I'm going to tell you one thing. I, for one, have as much fun. I'm going to tell you one thing, Arthur. Okay? I don't know how much of a computer guy you are, because maybe you're, okay with computers, but not more. I don't know where you are in the scale of knowledge. If you like radio, I mean, if I had tonight, okay, let's say that magically one of you guys put a Alecrafters shortwave radio smack here, tube radio, with shortwave on it. I can tell you one thing. Tonight, I might not use the SDR a lot. I'm going to go on the Alecrafters tube radio and tune around, because I love the technology behind it. I love the fact that these old radios are just so cool, so beautiful, so nice. I am the guy that's going to have as much fun tuning around with an old tube radio as I will also have fun tuning around with a very modern SDR play receiver and on the computer. I like all aspects of the radio stuff. I sometimes, I got American 5 AM tube radios here. I will sometimes take all of my tube. You guys are not going to tell me I'm crazy, but the regular people of this planet will tell me I'm completely nuts. I will sometimes take out all of my tube radios, put them one right next to each other, and turn them on all at the same time and start tuning around different signals on each of them. Just for the fun, and just because it's just so cool. And when I see a tube radio with the glowing tubes receiving signals, I am amazed at these radios. I totally go nuts. These are so beautiful. And thinking of the technology of that time, it's just amazing. I think it's a fact that I'm not just a radio lover. I love the electronics of different eras. Testing out a radio from, like Fastload that gave me that Grundig receiver. I am amazed all the time tuning my Grundig receiver and, tuning the shortwave bands and listening to it and thinking, wow, transistors and circuit from 1969 still working, still giving what that radio needs was about, and thinking, wow, this is such a great device for the time. I have fun with everything. So, I'm not stuck in just SDR stuff. I like to diversify. I would love to have, honestly, at least 2 or 3 really nice shortwave capable tube radios. I would do live shows sometimes just tuning the tube radios. Honestly, I can tell you that. J.D. Williamson, old jazz on 5140. What's on 5140? Is that a pirate? 5140? 5140. I got nothing here. Huh, interesting. You got a pirate station maybe on 5140. Bobby Burgess, Radio Exterior de España, in 10 minutes in English. 9690. Am I hearing Spain? Yeah. Not super strong with 9690 Spain. We're going to check that out and leave it on and see if we have Radio Exterior de España in English in 6 minutes time. Pretty cool. Like Danny Shortwave says, it's another interesting aspect of the hobby. Absolutely. Scott Robson, nice to have you on board. Says old radio is awesome. Absolutely. Zach Antle, nice to have you here, my friend Zachary. Olivia TG, bonjour, bienvenue. Nice to have you here, Olivia. Yes, absolutely, Matambale. If you have tube radios in your room, they just eat up the room in the wintertime for sure. Artist Ollie Crafter's Kitchen says, I'm a computer all day for my job. I have computers at home here. Looking at the screen after hours, well, no. I don't get to tune radios on the job, so that's why they are a treat for me here. Yeah, it depends, of course. We all have that different way. I see that way of thinking all the time. I work all day in front of the computer. I don't want to see a computer at home. It was so funny because I remember once when I was doing a lot of tech jobs, I went to this client, and she was the last client of the day, and it was maybe 10 p.m. I took her because it was urgent, and it was like, okay, the last client of the day. And I had been in front of computers from like 8 a.m. up to 10 p.m. in the evening. She looked at me and she said, so you started at 8 a.m. this morning? Yeah. So what are you going to do when you go home? And I looked at her and said, well, I'm going to sit down in front of my computer. And she started laughing. She said, really? I thought about all of that time. So, no, I don't care. Because the computer I use at home is not for the same use as the computer I use or the computers I see at work. So that's the thing, But it's different for everybody for that. Some people just don't want to see computer after their day's work. It's okay. We all have our side to this. Artist Alley Crafter's Kitchen says tube glow is magical. Absolutely. There's something cool about it. I remember as a teenager when I had this big Canadian Army World War II radio, which I would so much love to have today here because it was just, I didn't understand the value of what I had back then. And I'm just going to put the volume a little lower because I don't want to have a copyright strike over some kind of Spanish songs. And I remember just turning off the lights and looking at the tube glowing while listening to some transmissions, on the radio. It was just so great, so magical. Really, really amazing. Archer's Electraffic says transistors are also magical, especially earliest germanium transistors, and have some characteristics close to tubes. It's just crazy. Just crazy. Vianney Arsenault, nice to have you here. Bonjour, bienvenue de la Gaspésie. Il fait froid. It's nice to have you here, Vianney. Always nice to have everybody on board. So we're almost at 3 hours into the show, and we're going to check out for Radio Exterior de España English language, and I've got beer number 3 coming up. Vianney, il fait fret. Il fait fret. Un bon québécois, il fait fret. Nice to have you here, Vianney. Archer's Other Crafter says, it's really great. Anything that lights the fire for people to get into the hobby is great. People who started as the army someday discover tube radios. And oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I like all aspects of radio, but I am amazed. Probably it's the fact that I kept part of my little childhood amazement of things. I look at an SDR play, little black box, and I'm amazed at a little chip and just a little circuit board does all of this and does it so well when you think about how big and how many parts we needed 30 years ago, 40 years ago to have the same radio. So I'm amazed at this, but at the same time, I'm amazed at seeing one of these American 5 tube radios receiving an AM signal. It's just I look at them and I'm amazed at that technology. I'm amazed of all that technology of whatever time period. But some people are more into one period than others. Some people, I get people sometimes that tell me, you know what? Now that I have an SDR, I don't want to know nothing anymore about any of the other types of radios. Oh, okay. Well, that's your thing. I mean, I love my SDR playing. It's an amazing device. It's great to listen to. It's great, the visuals of it. But I'm not close to that. I will not, if honestly, if I could set it up properly, maybe it would be kind of nice to have, a full day or a full show tuning around just with the grinding receiver. So 9690. Spain in English. Spain in English. I'm going to check that out. Just over this. I'm going to put it up when they talk. David in Boston says, using the computer to use my RTL SDR, so I prefer radios, hardware or software defined, which have physical form factor. They allow me to use them and leave the PC aside. Yeah, absolutely. Zachary, no, I've not seen that horror movie. Max Headstrong says, I sold my last tube radio, a Collins R390, about 3 years ago and have regretted it ever since. Something about those cams and gears. Yeah, I regret selling a lot of my old shortwave radios. Honestly, I should never have sold the older shortwave radios. And I have an image in my head of that World War II radio from the time. I wish I had that here in the rack that it was in. It was such a beautiful device, but I wasn't there. Today I totally understand how important that radio and how amazing that radio was. Honestly, it's just crazy. Oh, absolutely, Archer's and the Crafter's Kitchen. Today's pocket calculator has more power than the Apple navigation computer had. It's just crazy. Matt says, solid signal from Radio Exterior España 9690. Vianney Asano says, good signal too. Brian Penny, my first radio was a crystal radio set I made from a Quaker Oats container that started a 50-year love affair with radio. For a lot of you, there's one thing also that is amazing, and that comes from the fact that we don't just love radio. English service of Radio Exterior de España, 9690. S9 plus 10 around here.
He was interviewed live on Discovery, the radio program of my colleague in the industry, Jose Miguel Lopez. Jose Miguel invited me to use as much or as little of the interview as he wished, and therefore today I have consisted of excerpts from that hour-long program, together with Guy Stanley Clark, a prolific artist who has recorded a couple dozen that reader, and many decades more as co-reader band member for State Bands. We were just hearing the title track from the new album released this year.
So Radio Exterior de España, 9690, coming in English. They also have French, by the way. Arjun Wiesman, Matam Baldi says, you can imagine my fondness for crystal radios. My first crystal radio I've ever built was a Radio Shack kit. And it was a crystal radio, and I remember it cost very little. I had $10 in my pocket, and I think it cost $9. And I was amazed that with very little parts, you could listen to AM broadcasts. And I had a lot of fun with that, honestly. Arjun, the Grundig that I have is a Grundig satellite transistor 6001. Also known because it's the same model as the Grundig satellite 210. And I can actually show you what it looks like because it's right here. I'm just going to turn the camera and show you guys. It's that radio that you see here. And that was given to me by Fastload, so it's up there with my DX100 and my CB, and I'm actually cleaning up all of this to try to make something better. So anyways, it's that 1969 Grundig satellite transistor 6001, and here we go, back. So it's an amazing receiver for the time, I can tell you that, Arjun. Radio Free Whatever being reported on 6955 upper sideband. Let me check that out. 6955. Ain't hearing anything. 6955 upper sideband apparently. Take care of 4IDL. Nice to have you on board. Bonne nuit. There's nothing like these idiots that come to a channel and say, hey, sub to me. I never annoyed anyone with subscriptions on my channel. Please go away, stupid idiot. Oh, man. What the hell? You gotta earn your sub. Oh, I hear a little bit of music, 6955. It's very weak, but I hear a little something, 6955. There's music right now, but it's very, very weak. And this is my last beer for today, La fin du monde, the end of the world. Of course. The first radio we had in our life. You know, I mean, you guys know, I always talk about it. My first official radio that I had and owned was a Bernie in the Bathtub AM radio. And I mean, that radio was crazy. I can tell you that. It's like, it probably helped spark my radio listening, maybe. Maybe that was that little spark that I needed to start my hobby as a radio listener. David says, my national reception of radio Exterior España 9690 is S7, S9, Florida QSB. Noblejas transmitter side is just 600 kilometers from him, so I wonder if I'm hearing the ground wave of the back of the antenna used. 600 kilometers, I don't know, I don't know. Arjun says, yes, I have the satellite 210 as well, the wooden one. Yours looks great. Yeah, mine is the vinyl, kind of the vinyl, black vinyl type. And it works perfectly. Fastload restored the radio. We cleaned the contacts and everything. It works perfect. It works like brand new. And I use it regularly. It's there right now, but I bring it to my kitchen so often. And while I'm cooking or doing stuff, tuning around the bands with it, I just love that radio. It's a very nice old radio. It's a very beautiful radio. I'll tell you that. Something unusual on 6915, says Matamali. 6915. Let's check it out here. Anything here? 6915? Don't seem to have anything special there. Not a lot of stuff there. So, I don't know. Man. What else do we have? Casper Peterson says Jaco Pisterius on 9690. Nice. Upper sideband but muffled. Huh. Let's just put in an upper sideband here. See if I hear something. Could be some fishermen, speskies. Cheers, Denny, and cheers, everybody. Arthur's Undercrafter's Kitchen says I got a Grundig Satellite 800, which has a tuner made by R.L. Drake. Also have one of the original Grundig Majestic consoles, which has Shortwave, the 7801. Nice. And Matt has strong loud piskies on 6915 lower sideband. Let me try the lower sideband part. I often hear a lot of these peskies on the 6915. Archer's Autocrafters got radio exterior Hispanic coming great. Cool. She says the sound on the 210 is great, and SSB is working great, but you need this separate SSB box. Yeah, I don't have the box for the single sideband, but the sound is absolutely beautiful. I mean, with the big speaker it has, it's beautiful, absolutely. And it reminds me of my beginnings with the live shows, Arthur, when I would have my icon in the kitchen on top of the dryer. Oh, man. Not hearing much on 6915 on my side here. Not a lot of stuff. Anything else? Let's see. I hear some. Nope. 604. Oh, very weak. 6754. I have it very weak. But Trenton Military in Ontario, Canada, very weak on 6754 upper sideband. 6754 upper sideband. Very, very weak from Trenton Military. So, pretty nice. So, I will post for the last time the information about if you want to help me out, if you like what I do. If you've been enjoying the live shows, why not have a little, a little something? You can, of course, help me out with donations at paypal.me/shortwave. Or if you have a PayPal account, you just send it to the Yahoo email that I'm posting right now. And, of course, this will help me out, of course, as always, in paying for my huge, expensive internet bill and, you know, equipment and so on. Patreon.com/radio and computers. You can set up a little something every month automatically and join 11 other patrons. And, of course, your donations are always very helpful in, you know, with everything I do. And they kind of, you know, put your spirits up. You know, you get the donations, so it's like, you're doing something that people think is worth a little something. So thanks for the donations. Thanks for everybody that donated. I'm trying to go out here to those that have never donated before. And last but not least, if you don't use electronic stuff for donations, don't forget you can always send a postal money order. All you have to do is ask me for my my postal address to send that to me. Thanks for the donations. It's always appreciated. Okay. Yeah, I would guess these are the first types of... what the hell is that? Here's your chance to what? Yeah, I want to have that. Looks like an ad. Yeah, I would guess these are the... You know, in 1969, transistors are not... Or what, about 10 years old at that point. It's probably is quite surprising and quite interesting to see the technology used in there. You know, I mean, it's, you know, today we have these chips somebody was telling me the other day, it's like, I hate it. Today's radios are small. And it's like, yeah, they're small because they have chips. I mean, if you look at, like the Conicom GP5 or the Texan PL 380, I mean, these have a silicon integrated chip. The chip in there is a full radio. It's a radio on a little chip that's this big. It needs just a little bit of parts around it to make it a full radio. And that's why these things are so small. You use these chips today to make radios. It's just crazy when you think about it, Robert Prosper says 1969 transistors lasted longer than capacitors in that era. Yeah. I would guess capacitors today are much more rugged, or I don't know if the technology is, brought us to a point where capacitors are better today, and actually we'll know if today's electronics hold up in 30 years or 40 years from now by seeing if will a electronic device 40 years from now still work, How many of today's portable radios are based on the same DSP chip? It depends on the type of radio you buy, but a lot of the little portables use the silicon integrated 37, I'm trying to remember the name, but that silicon integrated chip comes in 2 or 3 different versions, and any receiver today that has DSP on it, okay, any receiver today that has DSP capabilities on it, they tell you that it's DSP technology. They all use the silicon integrated chips. All of them, no exception. And I'm talking about portable radios. I'm not talking about, tabletops or anything. I'm talking about the small, sub $100 portable receivers that actually say they have DSP. They all use the same silicon integrated chips. So every time you see a little portable at $40, $30, $50, $60, $70, they use the silicon integrated chips, which is a shortwave, an AM, FM shortwave radio in a chip. It's as simple as that. They are pretty amazing chips. I remember looking at the expanded diagram of those chips, and I was like, wow. It's just, crazy. JDX says, I have a tube shortwave radio from the 50s. I think it will outlast any new radios built like a tank. It's surprising. Electronics, if you're careful, electronics is pretty rugged, honestly. I mean, I look at the radios today, and I think these radios will, a lot of them, a lot of little portables I have, I think these things in 100 years from now, if you pop in AA batteries, if in 100 years they still exist, AA batteries, maybe they will, but they'll be AA batteries that last for a century or something. You'll buy one set of AA batteries for your life. Who knows? I think not all, but most of the electronics of today that I have here, like the Texan receivers, I'm sure if you pop in batteries in there in 100 years from now, these things will work. Maybe there won't be anything left to listen to, but they will work, and somebody will say, hey, look at that. That display shows numbers, and I don't know what it is, and I hear just static. Who knows? But one thing for sure, like Ali Crafter's Kitchen says, that Grundig is top-notch quality. That thing was, and to give you an idea of how the electronics must be really of top quality in it, I've said that all the time. I am amazed because I've never seen a radio like that. If you tune, say you tune WBC Q7490 on the Gredig there, okay? First of all, it doesn't drift at all, which for a transistorized analog radio, especially from that age, pretty amazing. But also, if I switch it off and I turn it back on tomorrow night, it will be smack on 7490 WBCQ. I will not have to readjust. I will not have to change or touch anything. All I'll have to do is turn it on and it's going to be there. That tells me that the components used in that radio were the top quality components available at that time for that radio. Because it's just nuts. I mean, an analog radio that doesn't drift, not even when you actually shut it down, it's crazy. It's crazy. Jerry DX says, AA batteries have never died. That would be nice. Yeah, of course. In 100 years from now, the AA batteries will be nuclear powered. We'll have nuclear powered batteries. We'll just pop in and whatever lasts for a lifetime. Oh, man. You know what? That joins a little bit of my thinking. Arthur's Only Crafter's Kitchen. He says, not all caps leak. You see people changing them on radios often unnecessarily. I was looking the other day at a guy that was changing all the caps on a 30-year-old radio. And when he turned it on, it worked perfectly fine. It was great. It worked great. And you know what? What was interesting to see is that the guy changed the capacitors. And for some reason, I'm so much more in the, if it works fine, why do you do that? Leave it like that, you know? I don't know. I think sometimes people do change the capacitors unnecessarily. When things work right, yeah. You know, the worst ones were the, in the two radios, there were a lot of paper capacitors. These would actually dry up. And these had a lot of problems because they would dry up. Robert Prosper says, in 200 years, this tech will be integrated into our brains. I would like that. A shortwave radio in my brain. I would like that. Just thinking of a frequency and say, oh, look at that, WBCQ 7490. Martin Bally says, quite busy with CW on 40 meters. Contest started. No, contest starts at 0-100. I don't have a lot of stuff on 7 town to 40 meters right now with Morse code. There's some stuff, but I don't have a lot of stuff right now. So I think that it's really a 0-100. 0-100 is going to be really. Matt, MDK2 says, Pirate playing Grateful Dead being reported on 6930.2 AM. Let's check it out. Do I have something on 6930? It doesn't show up. But whoops. I just clicked somewhere. Here we go. 930. I don't even have a hit. If I move away from 6930 in the upper sideband, I have absolutely nothing on 6930. Let's try the buzzer. Is the buzzer coming in tonight? 4625. No buzzer. Royal Air Force weather from the UK, 5450, upper sideband coming in. Shannon Vomit from Ireland, 5505, upper sideband coming in. Oh, look at that. There's that Iono sound that's checking out the bands. So, interesting. I haven't checked them yet, but I will check them and review your channel, Jerry. I promise. When you send me the email, the first thing I thought is you would be reviewed. So don't worry about it, Jerry. I will talk about your channel on my channel. Try to get you a little more subscribers for sure. The Doors playing on 93.95. Keegan says 5,000 WWV stronger. WWV. Getting a little stronger now. On 10 megahertz, a little stronger. Not 15 megahertz, it's dead. Still getting a very strong signal from CHU 3330. Pretty good. Pretty good. Arthur's Autocrafter's Kitchen says paper and wax caps on tube sets should absolutely be changed, but modern day transistor sets, it's really not necessary in most cases. Yeah, that's what I think too. People go crazy a lot. Absolutely. AC Johnson, nice to have you here. Wet chuffing noise. Because it depends on the filters I use when I'm in AM and so on right now. Scott Robson has the buzzer weak on 4625 upper sideband QESDR. Jay Graves says this is fascinating. Cool. Let's try the Doors on 93.95. 93.95. It's very weak. Oh yeah, it's Riders on the Storm. Riders on the Storm. I'm a big Doors fan. Riders on the Storm 93.95. There are some bad batches of electronic components, especially since they're made in China. There's a lot of bad batches of different components that came out of capacitors and so on. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's check. Voice of Turkey 5960 with some Turkish music that I won't put very long because I don't want to have monetization disabled. 5960 is Voice of Turkey. Coming in with a pretty good signal. S9 plus 10 almost here. So, hey guys, we are at 3 hours and almost 30 minutes. I'm going to say thank you everybody for joining us today. And don't forget that this weekend is the 2018 CQ Worldwide DX Contest, CW mode. So if you want to brush up on your Morse code, all the CW signals from around the world going to be there. So check that out. You can use software like FLDG and MultiPSK or any other software that decodes Morse code if you don't understand it. I want to thank for everybody for being here as usual. It's always fun to have all the familiar names and faces. We'll be back next Friday. So next show will be Friday, November the 30th. The last show, no, there's going to be another one after that. Yeah, the last show, November 30th. It's going to be December 1st on Saturday. Next week, the last show of November. After that, we're going to have a Saturday show. It will be December 1st. Wow, amazing. And thanks everybody for being here. Thanks for the fact that you guys are great. It's always fun to have everybody on board. I want to thank everybody because, I mean, without you guys, there wouldn't be, a show, honestly. And so the next show is next Friday. Tomorrow, no show, so don't look for a show tomorrow. I'm having my weekend off. I'll be on CKUT's International Radio Report on Sunday at 15:30 UTC, 10:30 a.m. Montreal or Eastern Time. Take care, my friends. Love you all. Stay safe. Love you. And always cool to have you here. Yeah, Arthur's Alley Crafters. 5960 CBCRCI, absolutely. So take care, my friends. Love you all. Stay safe. Hey, Alex, champion. Nice to have you here. And let's fade out. Bye-bye, everybody. Take care. And peace.